This is the D6 generation with your hosts, Craig Gallant.
Wrong! If you're getting any compensation, it's not charity!
Russ Wakeland. You put me on a boat with frickin' dragons attacking me and whatnot? Now we're talking. And Raef, Hollywood Granger.
Now that's Jimmy Django right there.
With contributions from Total Fangirl
Vampires do not sparkle.
and our loyal listeners.
One game is very like another till the D6G reviews it, brother.
Welcome to another edition of Rapid Fire, the roundtable discussion of all things gaming, coming at you with the speed of a beautifully balanced piece of polished granite down a sleek sheet. Today's edition is brought to you by Melvin in Cardiff and is to his son, Tom. I'm glad you've discovered gaming, Tom, and I really enjoy gaming with you. But if you could just let me win once, I'd enjoy it even more.
Nice.
I'm Geekly McNerdigan, your host. Today, as always, our panelists are Russ Waldeberg Wakeland and Raef Great Beyond Granger. Let's begin.
Waldeberg?
Issue number 1. Death as a sentient entity is a concept that has existed in many societies since the beginning of history. In English, death is often given the name the Grim Reaper, and from the 15th century onwards came to be shown as a skeletal figure carrying a large scythe and clothed in a black cloak with a hood. In some cultures, death is seen as the actual cause of a person's demise, actively severing their life's thread, and thus he can be bargained with, threatened, or tricked. In others, he is merely the vehicle of death, helping the person in a benign way to the other side and with no ties to their actual death. Question: when it comes time for you to get aboard that great sailing ship into the West, what form would be the best form for death to take for you? Lithuanian Geltini Granger?
On a pale horse.
Black Wraith Wakeland?
I want to go on that elven ship off like Bilbo did.
Answers here are beyond our human ken. However, I'd like to say, as Russ is a total traditionalist, I think I'd have to disagree with you, and you will be getting a visit from the standard skeleton in black robes.
Oh, man.
Raef, we might as well go with a squirrel. Issue number 2.
You bring a D6, I could dice with them.
Dissociative identity disorder, DID, is a psychiatric diagnosis that describes a condition in which a person displays multiple distinct identities or personalities, each with its own pattern of perceiving and interacting with the environment. Also known as multiple personality disorder, the diagnosis requires that a person display at least 2 completely different personalities that have control of the body at different times, say, a random podcast host and a guy named after some soup. Question! If you have an alter ego crouching somewhere in the back of your brain, what is that person's name? Roseanne Barish Russ?
Frodo of the Nine Fingers.
Sybil Rotating Raef? Wrong! Little do you know, but guys, you both suffer from this, and I've played several games with each of your alter egos.
Oh, no.
Raef, you turn into a very nice Asian man named Bill Ding. Not my best, but there you go. And Russ, yours calls himself Richard Cranium, which works on several levels, and I'll leave it to you. Issue number 3.
Nice.
Curling is thought to have been invented in late medieval Scotland, with the first written reference to a contest using stones on ice coming from the records of Paisley Abbey, Renfrewshire. In February 1541, comprised of sliding heavy granite stones across a sheet of ice towards a target, using brushes to sweep the ice and thereby aid in lessening friction, curling is possibly the oddest-looking sport in the entire Olympic canon. Question: what is one round in which both teams of 4 have slid all their stones at the target called? Watch the weight, Wakeland.
Oh, I should know this.
And polished granite Granger.
That's Jimmy Django right there.
Actually, you are both actually wrong, which oddly leaves me rather unsatisfied. The answer is... I don't remember what the answer is myself.
Just blowing in the wind?
No. Oh, what is the
that's
answer?
terrible.
I forgot to write down the answer. It's a...
Wrong!
Oh, it's a first. I too am wrong.
It's a sweep. Hey, you like how I did that?
That's good.
Nice,
That's
there you
good.
go.
Issue number 4. Since time immemorial, children have loved animals, whether we're talking cartoons, talking to them from out of the babysitting box, or countless children's books. These animals are everywhere. The very hungry caterpillar, Maisie the mouse, or Curious George. Kids love animals. Never mind that real caterpillars are creepy, mice carry disease, and monkeys fling poo. Kids love them anyway. Question: what is the best animal that has yet to be made into a children's character? Narwhal Raef?
A weasel.
Whooper Rooper Russ?
Giraffe? Is there a giraffe character?
No, I'm pretty sure there's a weasel and a giraffe.
Oh, yeah. There's
The answer
Jeffrey.
is, in real life, the I. Seriously, AYE, AYE. You have to go look it up and check out the picture.
Okay.
That's it for now. Thanks for listening and good night.
An even playing field. A clear set of rules. And a good roll of the dice.
Dice are our vice. We are the D6 generation.
Hello.
Hello.
And welcome to episode 54.
54. Now, you know what that means? That's 2 years worth of podcasting.
Oh, yeah,
Episodes.
Is it really?
Except that we're way beyond our 2-year mark.
Is that really 2 years worth
Yeah.
of episodes?
50, yeah. Every
Sure.
other week, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So 52 weeks in a year.
Uh-huh.
Yeah? All right, right?
Yeah, okay.
So I'm wrong, actually. No, 26. 26.
Right, okay.
2 times 26.
Is what?
Somewhere along the lines of 52.
52.
54 has no significance whatsoever.
So the English
No,
teacher.
It does.
It
What-
does
what does
not.
it mean?
Are you guys sitting down for this?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
I have a soft, cushioned chair.
Okay.
Great.
You know how I'm always sitting on a hardback chair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a
Oh, did you get a new
soft
chair? Oh, that's very exciting. I thought you just put a chair on your chair.
No.
Cushioned
I've got a little rocker,
Oh.
chair.
Wow.
I can sit back. I can rock.
No, you went and bought this?
No, my neighbor gave it to me, actually.
Well,
Have you been complaining to your neighbors about
I
having to
was.
podcast
I
late
was.
into the night?
Ironically, he's a furniture maker. But
Woe is
he
me.
didn't make this chair. He
well,
just
why
got
don't
an
we
extra one, so
why don't we
it was here.
finish introducing ourselves? I'm Russ Wakeland.
We already did this.
Did we do
part.
that already?
Yeah,
Okay,
we're
let's
on
skip that
episode 54, which has absolutely no significance whatsoever.
All right.
This is the D6 generation, and what are we doing this episode, Russ?
Well, this episode we got a lot of fun things going on. First of all, we're going to talk about games for people of all ages.
Absolutely.
These are games that not only will your kids enjoy, but you will actually enjoy playing them with kids.
Yep.
And don't worry, even if you're not a parent yourself, we're sure there's plenty of kids in your life. Maybe you got a younger sister.
Yep.
Maybe you've got a niece or nephew.
Yep.
Maybe you're in the Big Brothers Big Sisters program, or
No.
there's always plenty of kids to hang out with. So that's always fun.
No, we guarantee no Candyland.
No Candyland. Yes, Raef.
Russ.
Yes, Raef.
Craig is really off his game. We did not introduce ourselves.
I know we didn't. But I've introduced myself, so I've got it covered.
All right. I'm Rafe Hollywood Granger.
There you go. And he's Craig, the guy who's not talking right now. So anyway.
Oh, and by the way, each round of curling is called an end.
Nice. The end. The end, which is
this
probably
is the end.
this part.
I'm going to go over to the World's End Radio because they're way
You know-
nicer to me than you guys.
Do you know who comes in the end?
Who?
The Reaper comes in the end.
Ah.
All right.
This is a lesson in music history.
Now, do you know who sings this song? Anybody?
I believe that's the Blue Oyster Cult.
That is indeed the Blue Oyster Cult. And the lead singer from the Blue Oyster Cult is going to be interviewed today, right on the show,
Wow.
by Total Fangirl.
Amazing.
Because it turns
Who-
out-
also known as Nicole, your wife.
Yes.
It's very odd when you refer to her as
Isn't that-
Total
isn't that-
Fangirl.
isn't that
No, I
weird?
like it. I refer to her that way later on, too.
Oh, okay.
Later on at some other point. What's interesting about this is he's a gamer.
Yeah,
So-
that is very interesting.
So it should be an interesting interview to hear how that works out. And Blue Oyster Cult also sings what I've now come to think of as the theme song for Monster Apocalypse,
Really?
which of course is Godzilla.
Oh, yeah?
So that's
Now,
what-
here's
yes.
how nerdy I was in high school.
Yeah.
I would see the logo. Wasn't the logo like a B, an O, and a C, and were there 2 dots above the O?
Yes, there's a little like umlaut thing going on there.
And, and did people call them Bach or no? Like when referring to them in short?
Maybe I don't.
Okay, because
I'm
in
trying
my
to
high
remember.
school they might have, and
Yeah.
I thought they meant Bach as in the composer.
And you
Yeah,
were like,
no.
oh, there's no way I'm ever going to be cool. I can't figure that guy out.
Exactly.
Yeah, I decided to play that musical bit because probably most of the folks listening to the show are not old enough to remember Blue Oyster Cult, but you might have recognized them from Rock Band as one of the hardest songs to freaking play. Just telling you that right now.
Uh-huh.
So, anyway, and also on our show, we might be getting a visit from who today, Rafe?
Well, it is rumored that Peter Lipton was able to get us together, all together in a room.
Oh, really?
And he's got another interview for Inside the Podcaster Studio. All
Great.
lined up.
Great.
Oh, good.
Great. So, but before we can get to all that excitement, and we know it is exciting to you,
It
I'm
is
sure.
very exciting.
We need to thank our sponsors.
Yes. And who do we thank first? Russ.
I want to thank our friends at Myriad Games. supporting the D6 generation on behalf of friendly professional gaming stores everywhere.
Yes, he does.
And I'm very excited about the upcoming StarCraft event.
Yes, you
going
are.
on next Tuesday, April 20th.
Yep. In fact,
excited.
because of that, you're probably not going to hear this podcast until after it.
I might get it out before, hopefully Monday night. I'm hoping to get out. But yeah, so we're really excited. We're going to play StarCraft, and Fantasy Flight Games is giving out to participating events free beta codes for StarCraft 2, the game in beta right now. So pretty exciting stuff. So all good there.
And you know what? Something I've been thinking of recently at Myriad Games is Dan at Myriad Games does achievements now, or he's setting up achievements for buying and playing different things.
Oh yeah,
I think there should be an achievement for buying the Descent board game and the 3 expansions that have models in them and 1 advanced campaign.
All within a day.
No, just from him eventually. And then there should be another achievement for painting it.
I was going to say, for painting, it should be like a 100 gamer score right there.
It should right there.
So we got to thank that. Who else should we thank? Raef.
Well, I want to announce that I'm wearing my pants inside out. And on that note, we should thank battlefoam.com. I don't know why I thought of that. I just did.
Why do pants inside out have any impact on
pants inside out? Pants inside out. Why you got to wear your pants inside out? Your pants inside out? Your pants inside out. Why are you wearing your pants inside out?
My comfy sleepy pants. And they're kind of fuzzy on the outside and shiny on the inside. And I reversed them. It's pretty wild.
If they were jeans, they'd be really uncomfortable right now.
Okay.
But hey, listen, battlefoam.com makes, they make the War Machine specialized carrying case for your miniatures. Yep. They make the Hordes specialized miniature case. They have their War Hammer specialized, not really specialized, but they have, the custom foam trays to fit all your models, all your miniatures. You don't want your guys rubbing up against your neighbor? You buy Battle Foam.
That's right. They also make a nice Flames of War case, too. Very, very nice.
Oh, yeah, I have that.
Yes, you do.
You do.
I've been itching to play Flames of War again.
Yeah, not me. Okay,
what else should we not forget?
Oh, of course, Lone Wolf Development. Makers of great gaming assisting software such as Army Builder for creating your miniature wargame armies.
Yes.
Yep.
And Card Vault for your collectible card games and collectible miniature games.
Hero Lab for your role-playing needs.
And yes, Raef?
Any further word on the Super Jimmy Django thing we saw?
Well, Tournament Ace, guess who's part of the beta program?
Myriad?
Oh, no.
Boah, me, baby.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I emailed Romeo the other day. I'm like, hey, Romeo. Sorry. Wrong. Romeo's awesome Battle Foam dude. I emailed Rob of a Lone Wolf the other day, and because I'm running leagues again. I started running the new War Machine League, the Nightfall League. And, I'm trying to fuddle through with the league tracking on Gmail, with Google Calendar and all this stuff, trying to make it all work with all the Google Docs. And it's such a pain. I have to rewrite it. I'm like, Rob, can I just beta test this thing? He said, yeah, we'll send it out to you as soon as it's ready so you can let us know how it works for league.
Cool.
So,
ooh, Craig, we got to try to beta test the other one then.
Yeah.
The campaign one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's still under ops. So now also, we're going to talk, we should thank our friends at The War Store.
The War Store, bringing the war to your door since 1999. And if your friendly local professional store doesn't have it, they have it at the War Store.
They sure do.
Although we have to be careful, because I think last time I said Wisconsin, and a bunch of people from Wisconsin emailed me to let me know that there are great game stores in Wisconsin.
All right.
Okay, so if you are in Nome, Alaska, the War Store is for you.
Right. Let's say you're in the...
See if I get some emails from Alaska.
Let's just say like you're in the Finland Armed Forces, and you're stationed somewhere where there's no good gaming store for you.
There you go.
Not even necessarily Finland. You're stationed somewhere crazy.
Yeah, okay.
Then you can go ahead and check out the War Store, and they'll be.
That was a very, very subtle little shout out to the Finland Armed Forces.
Or maybe
that's right.
Maybe you can't get off base, or maybe you're a gamer and you don't go outside ever.
Maybe you've got agoraphobia and you're afraid of crowds and open spaces.
It's too bad Neil didn't start his store in 2004, because wouldn't that be better?
The War Store, bringing war to your door since 2004. I think he should...
Yeah, we need a poetic license on that, Neil.
Yeah. I think he should do that. I think he should change history just so he could get
just
it more
slightly
rhymey.
Yeah. Been thinking about selling games since 1994. We also got to thank, who else, Raef?
We have to thank Navin from Painted Figs.
Wow.
Craig.
.com.
There we go.
Make sure you got a little action there.
Painting all your miniature figures, or in my case, painting, let's see, the Beast, my complete United States Airborne Flames of War.
Are you really
Army.
sending that too?
Yep, plus the copters.
You better jump in on this. He's
Plus
he's going to have every painter over there in Sri Lanka working.
Kassite Woodsman.
Yeah.
And 26 Winter Guard.
Wow, when you decide you're not going to be a painter anymore, you really decide you're not going to be a painter anymore.
No, I'm kidding.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to get you guys nervous.
Uh-huh.
They are painting my Beast 09.
And they're painting my Stormblades. I'm very excited. Can't wait to see them. So that's them. And we also want to thank the folks who help support the show that are not businesses.
No.
Those are listeners like yourselves who have taken a little time and a little bit of money to purchase a shout-out
You bet.
on our show here. How do the shout-outs work, Craig?
eBay.
Thank you, Craig. You see why I'm throwing it to you? Watch the show. So anyway,
Sorry, I'm starving.
how that works is you go to ebay.the-d6generation.com. You can see our current auctions. If there aren't any there, don't panic. We're just between auctions. So the best time to go is the weekend after the show airs. So when the new show comes out.
Betwixt.
Betwixt is a good word.
Betwixt and between.
Yeah. So anyway, so you go there, you see the auctions, you can bid on a shout out. If you win the auction for any one of the main segments of the show, you can have your favorite sentence or phrase read by the host of that segment and become part of the show and have a little bit of what are you eating?
And
Not eating
speaking of
anything
shout-outs,
yet.
I know the Hollywood. I've been losing against Craig and Russ, but I feel your pain, guys. Hollywood Minutes have been lame. I hope I get some inspiration soon.
All right.
Speaking of inspiration, if you have anything about geek or gamer culture you'd like me to talk about on Jever Notice, please feel free to give me some suggestions.
Are we running low on ideas? Is that what's happening?
Crowdsourcing.
Is the
I'm crowdsourcing.
is the muse just running out of gas here? What's going on?
I'm crowdsourcing.
All right. We also want to thank anybody who leaves a donation. How does that work, Raef?
Go to the website, you click the button, donate, and you donate $100 million at the end.
Right. Hit the donate button. You can donate a little money there if you don't want to be bothered with shout-outs or any other way. And we also like to thank those who thank us.
Yes.
And thank you for listening.
For thanking those.
Even those who are just listeners and take the time out of the day to listen to us ramble on for 3 to 4 hours
right.
per episode.
In addition, however, we would like to thank Aaron and his girlfriend from Japan.
Is that all the crinkling going on over there?
Yes.
Is Aaron
They
from
did.
Japan or just his girlfriend?
I believe she's from Japan.
It looks like candy sushi.
It is candy sushi.
Oh, yum.
He sent us a gift package, including here. You can
look
choose
at
yours.
this.
Raef can't choose his because he's not here.
Well, Raef, you
These
bummed
are
out. You
awesome.
should be
Actually,
in
you
the
can
studio.
choose one for Nicole as well. These are awesome, very nice linen paper bookmarks,
Ooh, those are
samurai
really
bookmarks.
Nice. Well, thank you very much. These are really nice. Wow.
And
look at that.
sushi candy, which again is
Sushi
something
candy.
that Rafe will have to wait until. Now I'm nervous. We're going to do this on the air, and if it's candy that tastes like sushi, I'm up the creek without
I
a
feel like
paddle.
I'm on the Ellen DeGeneres
You know,
show.
I wish we had the technology that I talked about in my last Hollywood Minute. I could be there.
Oh, it's hard candy.
It's hard candy, so I just looked at it. It's very tasty. Very tasty, but I don't want to eat it while I'm on a podcast because then
Yeah, that'd
I will
be a
sound
bad
like
idea.
crunching and I'll lose a tooth. But thank you very much. It's very delicious, as I'm sure Craig can attest to.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And now we'll leave Craig. I'll now turn Craig's mic off and we'll let him munch away.
It is yummy.
Just wave a lot, Craig, when I'm back on the air. So these bookmarks are really nice. Anyway, so how are the contests working since Craig is offline? Rafe, can you remember all how the contests work this time?
Yeah, I think so. We're giving away the big box game from Fantasy Flight Games known as Rune Wars.
Yep.
You're to call in. Email in.
Either one.
We like calls.
Where do you send the email to, Rafe?
Contest at the d6generation.com.
Right. So you
And
send
you're
it.
to email in your sob story as to why your group deserves the game.
That's right.
Right. And what is the
And-
due date?
We like pithy and funny.
We do.
And I don't have the phone number offhand. It's in my iPhone somewhere, but I don't have it near me.
Good.
The due date for the contest is Tuesday, March 27th. I don't
Right.
know, GMT -2. I have no idea when.
How many entries we got, Craig?
Got a few entries.
We have 8 so far, which
Yeah,
means
so listen,
plenty
there's
of time
opportunity.
to get yourself in there.
Yeah, there's time to do it.
Now, have you listened to them? Are they very witty?
I have not listened to them.
I know we got.
I
these
don't
couple-
want to. I don't want to taint the
right.
the pool.
All right. So we're very excited about that, and we're very excited to give away Rune Wars. And I still haven't decided yet if you're going to get the pre-sorted, pre-baggied one that I played with, which is slightly used but pre-sorted and ready to go, or if I'm going to end up keeping it and sending you a brand new one that I'll have to buy one myself. But in case,
You're going to have to make that call eventually.
soon. I got about 2 weeks.
There you go.
So yeah, we need the entries by March 27th. I think if someone already said that, March 27th. So
Oh, and you're all doomed too, because in addition, in the gift box from Japan was a lucky key from Tokyo
To offset your
to change
rolling
my
ones.
luck. Yes, and a really neat a token from a monastery that was blessed for Karen and the baby. It was very nice.
Oh, wow,
it was
that's
a very
really nice.
thoughtful
Very kind.
package.
Very kind.
And yes, the candy tasted good.
So
and
what's
I'm
it-
back.
Oh,
What's it-
wait a minute.
Oh.
Speaking of gifts, I didn't write this down. Steve Crow, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, decided that he wanted to give me a gift, and so Dan sends me an email from Myriad Games. He's like, "Hey, by the way, Steve bought for you the GM's toolkit for Warhammer Fantasy 3.0.
Oh wow,
Nice.
Just up and bought it for me. How cool is that?
That's really nice.
It is very nice.
that
Thanks,
is
Steve.
very nice.
Thanks, Steve. So, Craig, what's the time for now?
Achievements in gaming.
Right. And I'm going to do who achievements is brought to us today by because it requires an orc voice.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
So here we go. Ready?
Yep.
Achievements in gaming is brought to us by a shout out from Fix to the 100+ goons participating in the Iron Gob Chef Peyton Challenge. The first secret password thingy is stairs. That's right. There's more. How was that? So we got
Sounds
some kind
pretty
of
good.
contest going on here through our own shout out system.
Some wily individual.
We'll give them achievements for that. That's pretty crafty.
There you go. Is doing a contest
That's
on
pretty
our
crafty.
podcast.
That's really cool.
I think it is too. So stairs was the word, in case you didn't get that in Orcish. Stairs. So what have we been playing today, lately, Raef?
Well, I played you in a game of War Machine, and you played Shenanigans.
No, I'm calling shenanigans on you.
No, you didn't listen to the new paradigm.
Shenanigans.
I tweeted you.
Shenanigans.
Tweeted you.
Shenanigans.
So I played you.
So we had a nice
I'll let you call Shenanigans.
we had a nice 3-player game with Josh 2 weeks ago, right?
Yep.
There were shenanigans in that game.
3-player part.
Yeah, there was a 3-player King of the Hill game. It was awesome. This multiplayer thing is a lot of fun. War
That
Machines.
wasn't Shenanigans.
There was shenanigans there. I'll have more about that later. And then you and I played a 2-player game, just me against your butcher list.
Yep.
Also, shenanigans occurred there as well. In the 3-player game, Raef managed to pull it out with a brilliant maneuver. In the 2-player game, I managed to kill Raef in a new methodology I am calling the my new strategy, my own new paradigm, which is basically what I do is I lose 6 or 7 games in a row to Raef and give him a false sense of security. Then I make a bold play, and he thinks, well, it's just some stupid Wakeland move like he's been in the last 6 games, and I beat him.
Wow. You have a name for this? You need a name for that strategy.
Random luck.
That's not such a good name.
Yeah,
The
actually,
3-player game was fun, though, because Russ, the objective was you had to take King of the Hill, and if you stood in the hill for 3 turns, you win. And we're playing a 3-player game.
well, the key was your the kill's in the center of the table, and your warcaster must be on the hill.
To take the control point.
Yes, but it
So,
doesn't.
Russ-
Yeah, right.
This is odd to me. He runs to the top of the hill right away with Stryker.
Oh yeah.
And I immediately go, what the heck is he doing that for? He's running right into the teeth of Khador, and he's got men off. I'm like, now he's just going to make Josh and me beat on him, which is what we did. And then I just tried to position myself to take them both out in one stroke, it took 2 strokes, but I was lucky enough to do it. And because I had Sorceress, so I was able to freeze everybody. So I thought that was interesting. But Russ did trick me, because the second game, what does he do? He rushes with Stryker right up. I fall right into his gambit. I'm all packed together in a tight little ball. He earthquakes everybody down. I'm like, it's no big deal. I'll get up. I'll move. Oh, no. He decided, with everybody knocked down, what do you get to do?
The whole army gets to
right
shoot
through.
Butcher. Right.
Yeah, kill the butcher.
So Butcher just got shot to pieces by my whole army.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah, the first game, well, I had this plan where I'd get on it because you only had to get 3 control points, and I figured out I could definitely get 2 of them.
Which
and I
you
did.
did.
And then I thought I might be able to get the 3rd one if Raef would be silly enough to pop his feet 1 turn earlier than he did. And you almost did, and then you held off. And if you had, I'd have been okay.
No, I don't almost do, because I'm going to let you in on something.
Yeah.
Never pop Sorsh's feet or any feet probably for that matter. Well, any of Khador's feet that I play with in the midst of your feet.
Yeah.
Anytime you pop your feet, I'm not popping mine.
All right. It's good to know. All right. And then we also played, so what else did you play, Rafe, before I go on to mine? We'll just keep War Machines Hordes for a second. So we've been playing a lot of War Machine Hordes, and last Tuesday I played a 4-player team game. So Chris and I against 2 new folks who were first time I got to play with, shout out to Luke and Jim. And they were great guys, and we had a nice.
Who you insisted on calling Mike.
Yes. And it was a great time. It was nice to play a team player. It was really fun. Got to face Troll Bloods for the first time under Mark II rules, which was fun to see. And yeah, we managed to pull it out. It was a fun game.
It was great to see some new people.
It was great. And they had another friend with them, too, that was there, which is kind of nice. And it's really cool. This league has got some really interesting ideas. It's being run, basically Privateer puts all the rules up and everything up for you, and you just basically download it. If you want to, you can pay some money to get little books and some little prize kit, basically. And the prize kit is you get 1 coin, which is
so
not as
yeah.
good.
The league's cool because you get the 3 weeks, and I like it because they don't make you have to have specific terrain.
Right.
So it kind of works well with the web and without the web. You don't have to consult something and have 3 snowdrifts or something. And you get this book and the stamps, which you're all excited about. But I liked it when everybody got a campaign pin or a campaign patch.
So far, you're the only person. Well, maybe Dave, because I haven't talked to Dave about it, but everybody else is really digging the stamp thing. Because what's cool?
I could care less.
What's cool about the stamps is
I want my pin.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I guess you want to have something that's kind of cool. But what I'm liking about it is there's these little like leveling up tracks in the book, and what happens is whenever you do something in the league that merits it, you get sort of a stamp in your book. So one of the stamps is when you sign up, you get a stamp. If you paint a model during the course of the league, you get a stamp. Whenever you play a different faction, you haven't played it this league. So if you fight Cricks, you get a Crick stamp. If you fight against Trollbloods, you get a Trollblood stamp. When you beat Cricks for the first time, you get a stamp for that. And so it encourages you to play different players, play against different factions.
It definitely does.
If you played 3 different Warcasters, you get another stamp for that, for being called a commander. If you recruit a new player that's never played in that venue before, you get a stamp for that.
Why do you think it's only 3 weeks? That's odd, too. That's fast.
Well, it's short, but I think what happens if they go, we found this, too, though. If you run in leagues too long, people get tuckered out after, there's all momentum in the beginning. We've already decided in our league, I know you don't read any of our emails, but we've already had a vote, and we've decided to double every week. So we've already had 2 weeks for week 1. We're going to do 2 weeks for week 2, and then we're going to do 2 weeks for week 3. So
that makes a lot of sense.
So we're going to have a 6-week event. And do it that way.
So when you got the stamp's it's 1 stamp, right? It's not 1 different stamp for all these different things. It's where they are in the book that dictates what they are.
Right. There's actually 2 little stamps. One's a symbol for the particular, because the book you get is good for the whole year worth of leagues and events.
Yeah.
So there's pages in the book for Summer Rampage. There's pages in the book for the 4 different quarterly leagues.
Yeah.
Some other pages in there that maybe I don't know what they're for. And then what happens is the league rules say what you get the stamps for, and you're right. There's little sections there'll be there'll be a blank circle, and it'll say Battlefield Commander in the corner with little symbols around it.
Gotcha.
One of the stamps is a special logo for this season, so you know it was season 1. And the other stamp's just sort of this generic starburst, and you kind of pick where you want to put them. But you're right, you're going to put them into it's almost like a passport book. You put different spots for them, right?
Like.
Yeah. I love the book and the stamp idea, but what's odd to me is, again, you don't have maybe they just didn't feel like making them, but in the old days, you didn't have to buy the pins. They were extra. So I'm just wondering why that option's not there. Because I always liked that, because that way everybody got one for being
Well, is
part
the
of
book
campaign.
like something neat that you'll have, or is it just utilitarian?
It's pretty nice. I
it's
like
like
it.
a pass book with stamps in it.
Yeah, I should show you.
But does it look like it's fluffy in the Iron Kingdoms,
Kind
or is
of.
it?
It looks like it has a full leather cover.
It's got like a little full leather cover. It's got a little coloring to it. It's nice. I think it's nice.
It's not
I like
cheesy.
it.
The book's not cheesy.
Right, but
and
what I'm
stamps
saying
are
is that
cool,
maybe
but-
that's what you're supposed to.
That's your
That's your
keepsake.
takeaway.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you get
It
to
is,
see all
but,
the things you did too.
I don't know. I don't know. I because to me the campaign meant something when you had all these things bedeckled all over your army bag. It was part of a cool thing to have an army bag for.
Right.
And it didn't matter if you won, you got the cool medals or the cool coins in addition to the campaign pins.
Right.
So I don't know. I just miss it.
I'm liking it because it seems to really be working on what it's encouraging. Like everybody's talking about changing Warcasters to get that stamp.
It makes me want to make my own Jimmy Django line of patches or something. If I had the money, I'd do it and then give them out to people or something.
I don't know. I mean, okay, but I really like the concept. I really like how they're driving it and how it's working.
Cool.
So I'm digging it.
Does its thing.
So that's our thing. And then you played against
I
Dave
played
also.
one more War Machine game.
Go ahead.
I played against Dave. Dave's Retribution. I lost again. So I'm trying to play like we got a pair. I'm playing with a new guy, Butcher, and boy, I got my butt handed to me again. So Dave played a good game.
Yeah. So
Dave's good.
So did you have shenanigans in that game too?
No.
Okay.
What are the shenanigans?
We'll talk about shenanigans in the modeling section. At the end.
Okay.
Okay. So I've been playing also lots of games with my kids, but that's what half the show's about. So we'll skip that part.
Yeah.
And now I have to ask for
I'm very curious about this.
a moment of silence. I played Descent 2 weeks ago, and my Kraken. I released my Kraken, and he was killed. And I raised that little kraken from a little egg. And he grew and grew. And he just wanted to eat one hero. Just one. That's all he was asking for. He didn't even get one hero, Craig. He didn't even get one hero!
I did notice there were hugs involved, though.
Just saying, he's dead. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, Dave did give you a hug.
He did. Anyway, enough about my kraken. We'll move on now. All right.
You going to be
Well,
okay?
Craig, can I
think
have
so.
That music playing again? Breakfast Gaming Club. Maybe no more.
Really?
What happened? Wow.
Silence.
What happened there?
What happened is... I have to
Let me
be a
guess.
good
Let me guess. The wife.
Nope.
No.
Ooh,
Okay.
wow.
No. Really? Whoa.
That was a bold call on your part, though.
I'm just
You
going
would
out there.
you would think it's Marisa, but it's actually me. So I'm raised and am raising 4 different children. Emmy is like none of the children I've had. Sage and Addie are timid, would never open the door, wouldn't touch a knife, wouldn't climb on anything, wouldn't touch a stove knob. They just didn't. They just never thought to do anything. They just played with their dolls, and that was it. Lou would climb up on like the coffee table, but when he fell off and split his head open, he learned climbing on the coffee table, not good idea. Emmy, during Breakfast Gaming Club 2 weeks ago, hops up on the sink all the time, which she always does, to operate the water or touch the light, or who knows, probably stick something in an electrical socket. I don't know. And she dislocates her elbow.
I
remember that.
I was
Yeah.
there for that. That was bad.
Yeah. And she was totally in the other room, and I wasn't being, she's only 3, and I have this tendency to think 3-year-olds are older than what they really are. Now, Craig, you don't think you know what happened next weekend.
I think I heard this story.
geez.
I don't think I realized this happened at Breakfast Gaming Club, though.
Oh, yeah. Emmy
wow.
pulled the butterfly net out of its holder, leaving a long stick with a sharp metal end.
Yeah.
Puts that in her mouth, runs, and scrapes out the top of her.
Raef.
Did you have to go to the hospital again?
I almost did. I've never seen as much blood in my life.
Yeah, mouth
not
injuries
good.
bleed.
I look up there, the skin flap is hanging out.
Raef.
This is your
People are now hitting that stop button on their
push just in a
podcast.
PG-13, man.
She's
Oh man, your 3-year-old daughter,
just
dude.
crying. I've got that and I'm like, that's it. I can't be. She can't be unsupervised.
No.
Yeah,
She cannot be unsupervised.
yeah. Who knew? You can't let a 3-year-old run around the house by its unsupervised. I don't know. Where is?
I know.
Wow,
It's like
that's a
3 men and a
pain-
baby going on right here.
That's a painful lesson for her to learn.
That is.
For you to
And
learn.
for Dad.
For her.
And I feel like total crap.
Yeah, that must suck, Rafe. I'm sorry.
But see, again, to my defense, which I have none, is, again, my other 2 children and third children, they just weren't. Like Emmy, after the hospital, and this time I'm watching her, she's still trying to hop on the sink.
Dude, she's 3 though, dude.
I know, but my other 3 kids just.
Right.
I mean, you're right, Russ. You are absolutely right.
But wait, Rafe, when Lou fell off the coffee table, he was older than 3.
No, he actually. I don't know if I can tell.
Oh, jeez.
Let me put it to you this way: something much worse than falling off the coffee table happened on Maurice's watch.
Yeah, you don't want to do that, man.
Yeah, we don't want to bring that up.
No.
News will get back to her.
So anyway,
We don't want that to be the
it was
death of your
on my
participation in this show.
watch. It was on my watch.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
my desire to game had somehow slipped out of my control to watch a 3-year-old that needs to be watched.
Yeah.
And it has to come to an end. It's that simple.
No, well, kudos to you for being a good dad and knowing how to control the balance.
And
And
No.
Dave
Before
was-
social services showed up.
yeah, I hate that it almost took 2 trips to the emergency room to teach me that lesson. But Dave himself was kind of saying, it's getting nice out, and we wanted the kids outside, and we obviously can't let them outside.
Well, I noticed when I attended my one attendance, which and for similar reasons, not that my kids were getting in trouble, but I felt really bad that I was kind of ignoring my kids for half a day on Sunday, was that Breakfast Gaming Club was no longer breakfast. It was Sunday Gaming Club.
yeah.
right,
Which is also a challenge. I'm sure if you just did it for like 2 hours in the morning, it would be a big difference than, all day Sunday every week. So I think it might have expanded beyond its scope.
I'm not giving up hope, though.
Right.
What we're going to try to do is maybe find the mommy's helper. A babysitter.
Okay.
Don't know.
All right. Well, good luck with that.
Don't know.
But
Well,
anyway,
I really enjoyed it.
that was actually my achievement point that he just added all that onto. But that's okay.
Okay. Well, I'll give I didn't give any achievements out. So a few achievements for that. An achievement not for actually your daughter getting injured, but for you figuring out that maybe
And I did have fun when I played with the Breakfast Gaming Club, although
Good.
it was the all-day Sunday gaming club.
And you got to play in the last one, apparently.
No, second to
to
last
last.
one.
Yeah.
But it was fun. Dave did a good job as the Overlord.
So is that the end of your campaign, or are you guys going to try to play it another day or something?
I don't know what we're going to do. It's in
Flux.
permanent hiatus.
Which is
Till
interesting.
Emmy's
Maybe till Emmy's 8. Maybe
I'll put her in a bubble.
Ooh, girl in the bubble.
There you go.
Yeah.
The answer is Moops.
Moops.
Yeah, that's for the Seinfeld fans out there. Okay, so
What about you, Craig?
Maybe there's a law of the universe where the number of Descent campaigns in the world is finite.
When a door closes, the window's open.
And that's right.
Or something.
Something like that. And because the Breakfast Gaming Club had to close down, maybe that's how all the planets aligned and Lojog came back from the fore.
What's a low jog again?
Lojog would be the League of Just Ordinary Gentlemen.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And that would be Joe, John, Pete, and I. And I've got them playing the Descent campaign. And they loved it. We played it last Friday. And it was kind of your brother was a little iffy last time we played
Yeah,
Descent.
I remember that, yep.
And so I said, look, I've got it all. I'm gonna put it all out there. It's all 3D terrain.
Yeah,
Everything's
cool terrain,
painted. It's all neat. Right. We'll play it once, and if you don't like it, we'll find something else because we found a day Friday nights that we could do it.
Right.
And they loved it.
Cool.
So we've got that one.
Is it your place or John's place?
This is it. It's at my place right now, but it's going to be fluid, so
Okay.
we can kind of make everybody
cool.
Because we played till 1:30 in the morning, and that's a long ride for Joe. So
just a tip here, Rafe. Notice this is happening at night while the children are sleeping.
that's correct.
Just saying.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I could have coffee gaming club.
Okay.
Do you ever notice why I do all my gaming at night? That's part of the trick.
And we did all the character stuff and everything, so that took most of the night, and then we did the first level of a dungeon, and I'm at 0. They're kicking my butt.
0. What are they at?
6.
That's not bad.
No. Right.
In the beginning, it's hard for the Overlord.
It is.
It's kind of rigged for the heroes to get. You don't want them to wipe them out. You want them to get a little momentum going.
Yep.
Let them feel cocky.
Exactly.
Kind of like they did with Rafe. Lose a few games.
Exactly. But
and then,
I
surprise
am loving the Descent campaign tracker.
Oh, isn't that cool?
I'm
Online tool.
absolutely loving
And what's the URL for that?
It's Google the campaign Descent tracker.
Yeah,
is what it is. It's
DescentCampaignTracker.com.
Exactly.
I'm not a fan of it as a player.
Oh, I love it.
Really?
Nope. As a player. Well, because
The
Dave's
Descent
like,
campaign
what do I click and
The
how do I
Descent
go over
campaign
here?
tracker got John back on Gmail for the first time in like 2 years.
It's awesome. It is awesome with awesome sauce.
And I'm going to actually write journal entries.
Yep.
And I let that. It's weird. I let them. We pulled my character out of all the different Overlord avatars and everything. I let them do all of it randomly, just in case they fumbled.
Are you Captain Bones?
I'm Captain Bones.
Captain Bones. Are you releasing the Kraken or the Leviathan?
The Leviathan.
Right, I am too.
Release.
Same campaign.
I've got the exact same campaign.
Let's compare notes.
Going. We will have to compare.
Don't lose
notes.
your Kraken.
And
it's a hard day.
actually, I ordered a model.
No Overlord should outlive his Kraken.
That's true. If you're curious out there and you want to have cool models for your stuff, Dark Reaper, which is a theme in this.
Don't fear Dark Reaper.
Don't fear Dark Reaper. Okay, Dark Reaper minis have an entire line of skeleton pirates, including some awesome ones that could work for Captain Bones, and a whole bunch. Who knew? A whole bunch of like aquatic women.
Now we should put a note in here that according to the rules of Descent,
yes,
you may never field more models than come with the game and all the expansions.
Right, but you're taking the place of a counter.
No, I get it, but just make sure you're not like
you're not adding.
insinuating, and not for you. I know you do, but just people out there. If you bought extra skeletal undead skeletons,
Oh, you can't like field more
more than
skeletons.
6 that come
No.
in the box.
Right.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
You people.
Yeah. You know one of your people.
For you people.
But anyway, go ahead and check that out. Yours is called the D6G campaign, right?
I believe so. Yes.
And unfortunately, the Breakfast Gaming Club was called Jimmy Django. So you can go on to the Descent campaign tracker and see how far they got anyway.
What we'll do is I tweet whenever mine gets updated, so we can send me your link and I'll tweet it for people too, and they can follow
cool.
on the D6G tweet feed if you want.
Okay. And then of course there's the Sherpa too. But I mean, for people who want to catch
see what's
up,
going on with all
I
that.
actually went all the way back to the beginning of yours to try to see like how soon before
see my
you
journal
started
entries?
getting. A little bit.
That's some journal entries in there.
I'm doing. I will what I did was I wrote it down on paper while we played the game, and I updated it later. And I that was easier, I think, for the players. Yeah. But it was more work for me.
Right.
And so I think I'm going to try to do it while we're playing. And I don't think if I do it that way that I'm going to be able to do all the. Right now I'm doing funny little comments as I go. And
that's why I have the journal entry at the end of the session, kind of like summarizing what happens. But Rafe, to point out your problem, I think the reason you as a player didn't like it was that Dave is constantly futzing during the game.
That's
recording information. And what I recommend is if you have a laptop, it's easier because you can type fast.
He has a laptop. He uses mine.
Oh, well, that should be simple.
Boring.
Maybe Dave's just incompetent. I don't know.
Wow.
Just teasing, Dave. Teasing.
Is there a lot of hunting and pecking involved?
Little virtual hug there, Dave. Dave, you killed my Kraken.
He's still mad about the Kraken.
Dave killed my Kraken. Are you kidding me?
What do you mean you pulled a Kreg?
I watched Wings of War. I was a voyeur.
Oh, nice.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Jeremy was running it. It was a 4-way. And they had a blast, man. They had some fun. And they kept dragging me into play, but I just had a blast eating my pizza and hanging out and busting jokes and stuff.
It did look
was
fun.
Funny. They were doing a lot of smack talk. And they had this really cool blown-up map. Jeremy did his thing where he found some Google map of something with hedgerows and stuff, and he blew it all up big, and the planes looked really cool.
Yeah, it's an awesome-looking game.
Yeah, it is.
Pretty neat.
That was a really neat-looking blimp that they had going, too. Those
the blimp models
huge.
are great from Fantasy Flight. And they're pre-painted, too. They're ready to rock. So the planes.
Everything
I have
a
copy of Wings
of
War to play with Lou, and I haven't done it yet, and it made me itch me want to do that. I played Latro still. I don't have much to say about it. Still doing endgame stuff. It's pretty fun. Having fun tanking.
Now, let me ask you this. I just have to ask you this question.
Uh-huh.
Every week, and Craig, you back me up or say if I'm wrong, it seems like every other episode you're either enjoying the endgame of Latro or not enjoying the endgame of Latro.
Very true.
So
it changes.
What
it's
is
a pendulum?
What is the pendulum here? Why is it that one day this is like really great, relaxing fun, and the next day it's just a grind and you're tired of it?
If I go in with the mindset to go in pugs, which are pickup groups, if the minute I get in, I go looking for group, I have fun. Because then I'm getting to play at the top of my game. I'm tanking for people, which is a class that they need. And Latro tends to have a bunch of good pickup groups, and it's fun, and I kind of make new online friends, so to speak.
I see. Okay.
But if I go on and I for some reason don't feel like grouping, then I go,
then it's boring.
All right.
So it's really the social interaction. All right.
211 spiders just to get +1 vitality. No, I really don't.
Right.
I'm just going to log off. It's like that.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Now on to modeling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now here,
Wait, I want to go first.
Okay.
I built the butcher.
Okay.
Is that the shenanigans?
No. The shenanigans
Let me tell you
is as follows.
Uh-oh. He's serious.
There was, you may recall, listeners may recall,
Yep.
and I'm sure Craig will as well.
The engineer has his lawyer hat on.
Rafe,
Yes.
many times, Rafe and I have talked about when Mark II came out and everything. Now, we had a gentleman's agreement that we would not play with unpainted models,
That's correct.
at least against each other. And I had said I wouldn't do it at all, but I said mostly with Craig, with Rafe, definitely no unpainted models.
That's correct.
Rafe said the same thing.
Yes.
So 2 weeks ago, so this is the 3-player game with Josh. Suddenly, Rafe says, we're setting everything up. Oh, by the way, these two guys are really a standard bearer and a leader.
You didn't even have the models.
They're painted, but they're the wrong guys. Where are your standard bearer and your leader, Rafe? Oh, they're on my painting table. So here's rule number 1. If you agree with your friend you're only going to play painted armies, switching out the wrong models to somehow claim you're still fully painted is not acceptable.
Wow.
Shenanigans.
I disagree with that, and let me tell you why.
No, shenanigans. Rule number 2. You can speak later. This is the prosecution.
Wow.
Shenanigans number 2. That is totally indefensible.
Wow.
Next week, the 2-player game 1-on-1, Rafe proceeds to pull out not only a fully unpainted Just Metal Butcher, he also pulls out a fully unpainted Just Metal Beast 09 and proceeds to claim that his Beast 09 is actually a Berserker.
No, it was Drago.
Okay. Drago was actually a Berserker.
Correct.
Now, there's 2 problems with this. 1, I don't even know how you bend the gentleman's agreement to say a metal model with not even primer on it is painted. I don't even know how you're going to get on that one. But number 2, fortunately, because I don't play 40K, one of the reasons I don't play 40K anymore is because of these arguments all the time, is WYSIWYG. I don't homie, don't do that. I don't play non-WYSIWYG games. So, unfortunately, Privateer Press has a rule that says you cannot play the wrong model for a piece. So I don't have to deal with that anymore with the whole, my las cannon's really an autocannon, and this guy over here is really that, and this guy over here is really that. So I'm calling total shenanigans on you all the way around.
Wow.
What do you have to say for yourself, Granger?
All right. The first thing is not shenanigans. The second thing
What?
is
Now,
shenanigans.
okay.
I need to go to the jury on this. Rafe, how is the first thing not shenanigans?
That's the second time tonight you've called me Raef. So right
sorry.
there, you're going to lose your case.
Well, I have to explain I don't have
Yeah,
any
no,
chance to,
absolutely. You get a chance to rebut.
All right.
From the dawn of time, since I began using the standard bearer and the
Moving silently down the centuries, living many secret
leader,
lives.
I've
struggling to
used
reach
the
time
guy
of
with the
gathering,
eyeglass
when the
as
few
the
who
leader.
remain.
He's a little spyglass, and the guy carrying the bullet as the standard bearer.
I'm not listening.
because they're painted.
Okay.
I've been doing that for 8 games,
Shenanigans.
so that's that.
I'm sorry. What was that?
That's
Total
it.
shenanigans. Now, how do you
Those
explain?
stand-ins-
How do you explain the
those
butcher?
stand-ins have been painted and used as the stand-ins for 8 games.
Okay, so you're saying that there's a precedent.
Yes.
Okay.
Now,
That's
the
your
second argument.
argument on shenanigans count 1 is precedent.
I'm pressing for 2 counts of shenanigans.
Okay.
I may only get 1. That's why I'm going for 2.
Okay.
That's correct.
But the second one, I don't know how the second
At
one.
the
because-
Gamers Court. Ooh, we should do that.
Dun, dun, dun.
The second
The
count,
litigants are now entering the jury room.
Yes.
and here's how you deflate any prosecutor's argument.
Mm-hmm.
You ready?
Make
Yeah.
crap up.
Russ needs to learn this lesson.
Okay.
I concede.
All right. I would like my $1,000 reward, please,
Because he is correct.
for damages,
However,
mental duress.
I would like Craig, as arbiter,
Uh-huh.
to rule as dicta
Yep.
that is it not WYSIWYG if Drago is a berserker model? I used Drago, which is a berserker, as a berserker.
Your argument, okay, so your argument is on count 1, it is precedent is your argument.
Correct.
And in count 2, you have ceded half the argument.
I've conceded
And
the whole
you're
argument.
Conceded the whole argument, but as a foundation for future defense, you're saying that using Drago as a berserker is an alternative sculpt
I need
because
to
technically
submit-
they're the same types of.
Wait.
I need to
Let's
submit
get
evidence.
and I've
I need to
got
submit.
confirm what
Wait,
Russ
wait.
is saying.
I need to submit evidence for
Wait. Russ,
evidence.
we'll get to go.
Item B.
You'll get to go.
Okay, wait,
Go
it's
ahead,
not your
Craig.
time to talk.
All right.
No, I'm
I
just.
object.
You can't object.
I object to his supposition.
I object to your smell.
All right.
And Rafe, I just asking for clarification. Is that correct?
Yes, and to use more legal terms, I like this now. I will stipulate
Yep.
that count 2, we lose as to liability.
Uh-huh.
However, to be considered as damages, what I just said about Drago is a berserker model. Yes,
Okay, and you think that's a mitigating factor?
correct.
No. I would like to submit for evidence now, Your Honor. The official privateer press rules for all organized play, which reads as follows: a model may only be played as the creature, as the card that comes with it.
I don't actually believe you'll ever find those exact words.
They have a rule. about
I think that was a paraphrase.
It's paraphrase. Yes.
But you established that you were trying to read that as a quote.
Well, I can go look it up if you want to take the time. But
Okay.
there is a rule about WYSIWYG and privateer
Right,
press.
but,
You cannot play
but
a wrong
unfortunately,
model.
what you just did was present us with an inaccurate quote, and I'm afraid we're not going to be able to allow that to stand.
So let me just say this:
do I?
it
ever
was
get to do a ruling?
because it was a gentleman's agreement.
This is like the marriage ref, the gamer.
I don't
ref.
need to go to law over this. I'm just saying right now that if you ever want to make a gentleman's agreement with Rafe, I would advise against it because you'll either end up in court or just be very disappointed in him. Either way, so that I rest my case.
Okay, I would actually, Rafe, have to rule against you on the first count because I think just because you've been doing it 8 times, if I killed 8 different people, that wouldn't make the eighth one legal, right?
Okay,
Right.
I accept your ruling.
So as far as the gentleman's agreement, that's between the two of you, and I'm not really going to get between the two of you because you're both looking kind of angry right
These
now.
are cool. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the bookmark.
Yes, Russ has now left the building.
That goes into
mentally.
a theory of life called "I will not be a slave to my coffee mug." That will come up later in life,
Okay.
later in this episode.
Oh,
Well, it's,
Good, because I wasn't going to wait the rest of my life. Okay, so anyway,
all right, so that's the shenanigans there.
yeah.
So that was what the shenanigans about.
I
But,
guess you win.
Well, it's not about winning or losing. I was just stating facts the whole time. But anyway, moving right along. Painting. I did indeed paint some stuff finally, now that my weekend 2 of cons were done. I painted my gun mage officer. He's about 80% complete. And I'm really liking him. I got to field him the other day. Now that the gentleman's agreement was over, I decided to put him out. And he is awesome. He
Wow. So it wasn't really a moral foundation for you either. It was just an artificial structure that now that somebody else broke it,
the intent, which I know lawyers don't really care about intent much, but the intent of the agreement was to encourage us to paint our models before we played them.
Right.
And
But what it should do is be giving structure to what you really honestly want to start with.
Well, I
so
do.
Your desire was not strong enough to support you on your own.
Well, I didn't.
When Raef went back on it, you were not gentleman enough to stick with your own gentleman agreement.
I like this judge.
Well, no.
With
the
yourself.
models, I would not.
You have failed yourself.
No. It's funny because I wouldn't field them, even though Raef said, like, hey, for example,
did you not field and not completely painted gun mage?
Well, he's totally base coated, but he's not.
Did you or did you not? Now the definition is fluid.
The agreement was over.
That's my point.
He ended the agreement.
I love this.
No, he ended the agreement.
Right.
Look, here's the thing.
What was the purpose of the agreement?
Was to encourage me to paint models before I put them on the table.
So you should have been working for yourself.
Well, I was.
Ultimately, although you won the case, you lost the war.
No, I did.
Because
in fact,
you failed yourself.
If it hadn't been for the gentleman's agreement, I'd have played with an unpainted model totally. But the fact that I was working on him very, very hard, and the Squire's totally finished, and he would have totally been finished if Raef hadn't reneged. So what happened was I failed myself because Raef failed me.
How did Raef reneging stop you from painting?
Because I was no longer inspired to have to finish the deal.
Oh, wow.
That's why we made the agreement.
So basically you're entitled to this.
I'm suffering damages.
Like
my models are unpainted because of him. Wow. I'm going to have to pay money to paint the things to finish my models.
So there goes,
I demand representation.
So there goes your rugged individualism anyway.
I'm totally at his mercy.
Right, clearly.
He is totally ruined my self-worth.
So what we need is some sort of painting welfare.
From Raef.
What you're looking for is some sort of
I need a government program.
You need a government program.
I think he suffered emotional damages from this.
I did.
Clearly.
I did.
Unfortunately, this judge never allows for emotional damages.
So that's my achievements for mostly painting a model. I did finish the Squire, though, and I look how he came out.
Okay,
so
although you're not done with the base.
No, I'm not done with the base.
No.
Notice how I admit that, though, and don't try to claim somehow that
Well, you didn't actually admit it. You typed it and then never mentioned it.
Oh, well, I thought I was trying to move on because we spent a lot of time on these 2 bullets.
Okay, anyway, yeah. I finished every model you can get for Descent.
Wow.
So now I'm completely done.
Whoa, is that true? Is that all the lieutenants for Rogue Legend?
Except for lieutenants.
All right.
Okay, sorry.
You're being nitpicky today.
Wow.
For some reason.
Wow, it's getting...
Really
they made it.
See what happens, Granger.
Today.
See what happens when you break your word. Look what happens. Everything goes to hell.
Yes.
People
The
fall
social
apart.
contract has been broken.
Right. Where's the honor? Where's the
Madness
character?
and chaos. Dogs and cats living together.
Chaos in the streets.
It's dogs and cats.
That's craziness.
The blood, the walls on the 33rd precinct were bleeding.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I'm very excited because the dragons, the giants, and the demons were the last 6 things I painted, and I don't know why.
Nice.
I never painted them, and I was always annoyed. But they're all done. All the characters are done.
See, I would have done them first just because they're cool. But maybe that was the motivation.
Yeah, that might have been the initial motivation, and then they just get pushed back. I would get an entire expansion and paint everything out of the expansion and still not touch those 6 models.
Nice.
But yeah, so now I have a full 3D board. I have 2 beautiful complete boats.
Nice.
I have all the models. I'm really excited.
Oh,
and
you didn't comment on the fact that you took your cannons and you painted your cannons, so you can tell the difference between the different kinds of cannons.
I did. Based on the tokens, I actually painted the cannons to have all the runes.
There's some pictures
or
on Twitter feed. They look awesome. And Craig made these little cotton things that stick into the barrels of the cannon, so you can tell which cannons have already fired for the overheat rule. It's really cool.
That's cool.
Really cool.
Yeah.
So,
I'm very happy.
Amazing modeling, Craig.
All of my descents.
My mother once told me if I don't have something nice to say, to don't say anything at all regarding the cannons.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
See how I do? See what I did with?
Yes,
See what I did?
That you're very.
All right. Moving on to other.
Yep.
Raef and I have been enjoying Borderlands.
Yes.
Right, Raef? This is a great co-op game. I think for Xbox 360, 4-player co-op. It's sort of like what they're calling a what is it called?
It's like a shooter quest game.
Well, it's called a first-person or shooter role-playing game or shooter-playing game or something like that. Anyway,
I don't see it as role-playing. But
there's role-playing because there's leveling up. That's all, really.
Oh,
you level up, you get stuff, you get better gear. But basically, it's a very light role-playing game, but mostly shooting. As a single-player experience, it's kind of weak, but as a multiplayer co-op experience, it's awesome. So we're having fun with that. and we're thinking of doing regular Sunday night Borderlands adventures. Mm-hmm. And we have 4 local guys lined up. It's 4 players max, but
I'm
sometimes
calling it Breakfast Club Extension.
which would be at night.
Right.
And a total misnomer now that there's no Breakfast Club.
To extend, right. But what's cool about this is if one of our local guys bails,
Who are the 2 local guys?
we have Brian and Will.
Ah.
Now, if one of them can't make it for some reason, we're gonna crowdsource the 4th seat or 5th seat. So Raef or I will tweet in the Twitterverse.
Right, like last Sunday, Will was supposed to be the 4th.
Yeah.
But he had to go to his aunt's birthday party.
Right.
Dude, how lame is that?
I don't know. But anyway, so if you would like to be, that's where that went. Okay. So if you'd like to be in on the goodness, just keep an eye on the Twitter feeds on Sunday evenings, and maybe you'll see if we need a seat and jump on in.
Shifty knows I love him.
Okay. And also, I am going to be on another podcast.
What's the tip? What's the topic?
You're going to like this, Rafe. You're going to be jealous you weren't involved.
Oh, MMOs?
No.
Oh.
The iPad and what it means to gaming.
Wow.
And actually, it's kind of like it's actually interesting because on this show, there's no hate, and all our listeners are constantly emailing how I managed to resist Russ's over exuberance about this game and didn't buy it, or I fell prey to Russ's exuberance. If you want to hear me not being exuberant, being sort of the anti guy, tune into This Week in Wargaming, because my role is sort of the devil's advocate, perhaps against the iPad being the second coming to things. Although I think there's some interesting things about it. So you want to hear my opinions on that, as well as some opinions of other folks, including
but
Troy?
I don't think, at least we listen to the same podcast, but I don't think anybody really thinks it's the second coming, do they?
Some people do.
I mean, I'm glad you're taking the other side. I'm not trying to
Some people do.
thunder.
Well, no, in this case, Troy, Troy McCauley, the original founder of This Week in Wargaming, is going to be on that episode.
Oh, really?
And Ken is the moderator. And Troy has a super new business going on, developing games for the iPad.
Oh, wow.
So he's taking the position of this is going to be awesome. So we're talking about it that way. So it's pretty interesting. And then there are a lot of people that are very, very excited about the iPad, what it means to not just gaming, but a lot of things. So, yeah.
I'd be excited to hear you.
Check that one out. And that's it for me.
All right. My reading patterns changed a little bit last weekend, thanks to Nicole. Thank you, Nicole. I mean, thank you, Total Fangirl. I guess that's what we'll go with.
You can call her Nicole.
Thank you, TFG.
I just said Total Fangirl so they know which segment to fast forward to.
Gotcha.
So they can skip our yammerings in this part and go right to the interview.
I have put down Name of the Wind, which I almost never do. I almost never stop a book when I'm reading it halfway through. But I had to because Changes, the new Harry Dresden book, came out. And I didn't even know that. Somehow that went right under my radar. Nicole told me at her little birthday party, which was very exciting. Mm-hmm. And, so, oh my God, was she right. First page, bam, right between the eyes.
Don't tell me.
I'm not telling anything. I'm just telling you. On the first page, you're going to be like, oh my God.
She downloaded the book on her Nook like the day it came out and read it in like 3 days and is done. And she's like, oh my God, I got to wait a year for the next one. This is crap.
Yeah.
So
oh my God.
It's apparently very, very, very good.
It is very, very, very good.
I'm still a few Dresden books behind, so I got to catch up.
But you've got a lot of great stuff to look forward to.
Ooh, and if you like Dresden and you missed a lot of the series, which was actually pretty well done, from that was on television.
Nah, that's debatable.
It's not bad. It's now on Instant Watch Netflix. So if you'd like to check it out for free, go and you have a Netflix account.
At least it's not going to cost you.
Yeah, it doesn't cost you anything. So check it out. I'm actually enjoying it. I mean, they did tweak some things in the book, but it's kind of fun.
They tweaked a whole bunch of things.
I like Bob. Bob's fun in that. They do a good job.
Bob's funny.
Yeah, Bob's nothing like he is in the book, though.
No, not really, but he's funny.
But see, I didn't mind the TV show, but I hadn't read the books since.
See, I hadn't either, and then now I've gone back and I've kind of divorced them as two separate things.
If you can do that, I think you're going to be
fun.
Okay.
Yeah,
I couldn't really do that.
Yeah.
You know when you guys like discover a band before the whole rest of the world, and then they discover it, and then they all tell you? That's how I feel about Harry Dresden. I don't remember when I discovered it, but I think it was before Craig and Nicole and everybody. And it's not you guys that are the offending parties, so to speak, but I just didn't mention it to most people. I kind of found it, and then people are like, oh my God, you got to read Harry. I'm like, I know. Stop talking about it.
And just briefly,
go ahead.
My evolving thoughts about Future War Commander. Because apparently the people who were really offended by my initial thoughts of Future War Commander don't listen through to Do You Ever Notice? And it's not just you, it's several of you, and there were emails involved, and everybody was very nice once I pointed out that I did address it in Do You Ever Notice.
Right.
First of all, I didn't know that it's a one-man company. So
okay.
That's a one guy. Now, as a mitigating factor for a purchase, I'm sorry, but I can't let that doesn't really stand.
Yeah, I have to. I have to defend you a little bit in your initial first. I mean, I get what you're saying, and I'm sure the game's really cool, and I really can't wait to try it out. But it's not fair to compare the book to Privateer Press or Games Workshop. Right. I'll give them that.
Why not?
But
Why
I
isn't
think
it fair?
Well, it's a one-man company, but I think it's totally fair to compare it to Spartan Games.
Yeah.
And I think
they have a bunch of people working for them, though.
But they're just a startup. I mean, they don't have tons of
I get
capital.
it. I get it.
I don't know if Bunch is probably like 3 guys.
No, I know. But
I'm
I'm also seeing from Raef's point of view, I mean, you've got to take that into consideration to be fair.
All right.
Okay, but it's a market, and I'm not going to take that into consideration for my money. I mean, and there are people that are out there, and there are people, and they emailed me. And there are people that are going to be like,
and I've heard from them.
I'm going to buy this because I like to support game companies that are one guy work, and I totally support your right to do that. But that's not me.
Right.
I'm going to buy the coolest books that look the neatest, and I'll talk more when we review it because I can't remember who it was. One of you guys on the DACA forum had a really nice write-up of
Oh, he did. I remember that. I forget his name now, too.
Game companies that give you a whole experience versus game companies that give you just the rules.
Was it Ozbad?
It was Ozbad. I'm pretty sure it was Ozbad. And I thought that was very well put.
It was very well written.
And I agree with him. And I think that, is it lazy? It absolutely is lazy. But at the same time, if I can go to one place and get my inspiration and my rules, and they're good rules, then that's probably where I'm going to go. But that being said, having now read the entire book, Future War Commander, I think it's a great system. Spend a little more time looking at all the pictures. The terrain, actually, it works great as an advertisement for 6mm terrain, because the terrain in it is awesome. I mean, the buildings and stuff are awesome. And the actual unit builder that they've got in there, so you can like build the rules for the units that you already own. I did an entire Chaos Army in like a half an hour. Because they're so intuitive and they're really easy to put together. So I really liked it. So I am a big fan, and we are going to do something with this in the not-so-distant future. So watch for that, and I'm sorry if I offended anybody.
I'm not.
I know you're not. You live to offend, but that's because you're a lawyer.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Well, speaking of lawyers,
yep.
I have one of those lawyer calendars that a client gave me where it talks about weird stuff said in court. And have you ever seen those calendars?
I have.
Like it's okay to shoot a guy from Rhode Island if you're Massachusetts?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So this was on
That's
Mondays the 12th. One. Apparently, there's no light gaming allowed in North Dakota. Here's the bizarre law according to my lawyer
What's
calendar.
light gaming?
Yeah, define light gaming.
You'll understand in a minute.
Okay.
In North Dakota, beer and pretzels can't be served at the same time in any bar or restaurant. So there you go.
That, folks, is the peanut lobby at work.
That is interesting.
There you have it.
Yep.
The peanut lobby at work. That's very good.
All right.
Do you know how they get gambling in Louisiana? Because there's gambling all through New Orleans. How do they do it? The governor recently passed a law that they're only doing gaming.
Oh.
I mean, it's not a law. The way they got around it was calling all the things they're doing gaming instead of gambling, because all the laws use the word gambling.
Oh.
So you're not allowed to gamble, but you're allowed to game.
I thought they did the riverboat thing and went on to the.
They do that too. But what I was told when I was down there by the tour people was that they did it by changing the name.
That doesn't surprise me.
That's down south politics.
That's why whenever we talk about what do you do, I'm a gamer. You got to be very clear. Depending on the wrong part of the country, people are like, oh yeah, let's play some poker.
There you go.
All right,
slot machines.
Is that achievements?
That's achievements.
There's an achievement for achievements.
After our game reviews, you'll feel like you've played the game 100 times. After our interviews, you'll feel like you've known some of the biggest names in the gaming industry for years. After a single episode, you'll feel like the time just flew by. And once the headache clears, you'll know you'll never need another gaming podcast again.
The D6 generation, born to game.
Tired of pen and paper? Take your game to the next level with Army Builder and Hero Lab from Lone Wolf Development. Army Builder has been the standard for Army construction software for miniature gamers since 1998. And coming out in July 2009, Army Builder 3.2 includes PDF support, streamlined user interface, mobile device output, and lots more. And for RPG players, Hero Lab is the award-winning character creation and management software for players and GMs alike. Hero Lab supports all the major RPGs from D&D to World of Darkness. With Army Builder and Hero Lab, point-and-click simplicity lets you spend less time prepping and more time playing. Download a free demo from our website, www.wolflair.com. Discover for yourself why 100,000 gamers have chosen Lone Wolf Development.
And now, what's in the news? With the shout-out, phones ringing, hushed voices, and the tap-tap-tap on keyboards. Finally, the clock hits 5, and a tired-looking worker hurries out of the door and into their car. Red lights, freeway, and a petrol stop. The worker makes his way through the afternoon commute. Spirits lift as they finally arrive, hurrying past the zombie response team and gently cooling barbecue in the room of excited voices, laughter, and the sound of rolling dice. Good to see you again. Care to join me for a game? The Battle Bunker, 388 High Noon, Melbourne, Australia. www.battlebunker.com. Life is less stressful in miniature. I love that saying. And now, the news. Up first, Fantasy Flight Games has announced that it will publish a new edition of Dungeon Quest. The game first published by Games Workshop in 1985. Apparently, Fantasy Flight Games debuting a mock-up of the game at their event center in Roseville, Minnesota, so check that out there. And for those following the new paradigm, this announcement came via Fantasy Flight's Twitter feed. Check that out if you want to hang in there. Also available from Fantasy Flight, Horus Heresy is in stores now. There's actually a video of the game, too, a nice little overview over at the Fantasy Flight Games website. Check that out if you want to as well. Oh, I played Horus Heresy already. It was awesome. It was Wakeland. Oh, yeah, Sanguinus got on the ship and was fighting Horus, and Horus ran away, and then Rogel Dorn killed him. It was great. Wakeland, calm down. If you'd like to hear more about Horus Heresy, stay tuned to future episodes of the D6 Generation. Oh, we're going to be covered for sure. Wakeland, this is my segment. Warhammer Fantasy Battles 8th Edition. Oh, yeah, it's coming out this July 2010. Games Workshop has recently confirmed it with an announcement. For you Warhammer Fantasy Battles fans, it's time to break out the models, dust them off, and get ready to rock. And speaking of Warhammer Fantasy Battles, if you are a really fan of the game and would like to check out an angle on the game from a magazine that's not published by a company whose initials are GW, you might want to check out the new publication called Unseen Lurker. That's L-U-K-E-R, Lurker. Great publication, very professional looking. This show received a copy to check out, and it's a very nice publication. If you are a Warhammer Fantasy Battle fan, you could do a lot worse than reading this magazine, so give it a look. Also, in other board game news, Days of Wonder has posted pictures of their upcoming Memoir 44 Breakthrough maps. These new maps will allow you to play Memoir on massive battlefields. They look really cool and very, very large. If you always felt Memoir 44 should be bigger, well, you're all set now. In What's Up With This News, Roger Ebert has since published another article stating that games can never be art. At least he stated the following: no video game player now living will survive long enough to experience the medium as an art form. Okay, Mr. Ebert, I guess all those publishing companies better start firing all those hundreds of artists they employ. I really quite understood this logic. But anyway, moving right along. Speaking of video games, 2K announced a recent XCOM reboot. The much-beloved 1990s and late 80s game featured turn-based strategy tactical combat, and with Earth forces trying to defend against alien invaders. Unfortunately, the reboot announced by 2K is apparently going to be a first-person shooter. Kind of disappointing a lot of hardcore XCOM fans, which are sort of hoping for a remake of the turn-based tactical squad game. However, fear not. Apparently, a new project known as Xenonauts is coming off for the PC and is describing itself as the spiritual successor to XCOM games in both gameplay and theme. It's being developed by an indie developer. Do a Google for Xenonauts to check out more. And finally, the Hordes Mark II cover art is up for Primal Mark II. The book has also been price pointed at $29.99 for the soft cover. So if you've been excited about hearing about all this great War Machine Mark II stuff, and I'm thinking, I play Hordes. Well, now's your chance. Head on over to privateerpress.com and check out the latest. And that's what's in the news.
Are you having trouble fitting your whole army into one carrying case? Ever had your heavy centerpiece models break through the sides of their foam tray to scrape against their neighbors? You'll never have to worry about any of this again with Battle Foam. The trays from Battle Foam will hold over 30% more models than any standard tray, and they make foam to fit any box, including all manufacturers' carrying cases. What's more, they will custom cut your foam trays to fit any miniature. The boys at battlefoam.com can even personalize each tray by etching Army logos, personal text, or images right onto the foam. So go to battlefoam.com right now and pick up the best foam on the market. You've spent more time and money than anyone wants to think about on your models. Shouldn't they be as safe as you can make them? Battlefoam.com. Hooah!
Welcome back.
Welcome.
And now we want to talk about games for all ages. Even Craig's age.
Even Craig, soon to be infant.
We get a lot of emails, especially, I don't know about you guys, but Nicole and I get a lot of them about, hey, I want to play games with my kids, and what do you recommend? Or I have a younger brother or sister.
Because they know I'm a horrible parent.
They do now after episode first.
Yeah.
Wow.
Holy mackerel!
You're just throwing yourself on your sword.
We've all had those bad parenting moments in our lives. It's just it's a part of the territory.
Twice.
So anyway, so we thought it'd be great to do one of these segments and go through and I had this epiphany for this segment actually very recently. Nicole is a brownie troop leader, and one day she and another mom do the brownie troops, the juniors and the brownies. So the brownies are like the younger girls, like my 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, and then the juniors are a little older, like 9 or 10. And they had this day planned, all outside stuff, total outside activities.
Uh-oh.
And it just, middle of the day, just started dumping. And they had nothing, and brownies was like in an hour. And Nicole's like, you know what, I'm just going to grab some of these games. And she grabbed some of the games our kids love, and all the games we're going to talk about shortly. And it was a huge hit. I mean, these kids had a blast.
I don't doubt it.
They were talking about it. And my wife also volunteers over at the elementary school. And the next day, she's seen this, goes, Mrs. Wakeland, can we have a play date with Rose? We want to try those games again. Those games are so much fun. Can you bring them into school? They just loved it. And these girls are just, 7, 8-year-olds, they don't necessarily aren't gamers. They're just typical kids. So kids love this stuff. There's some great games out here, and my goal here was to try to get games that you can enjoy playing with your children, and not even if you're not a parent. I think these would be fun if you got a younger brother or sister, nieces or nephews, your babysitter, or you're part of Big Brother Big Sister. There's always kids in your life you can play with, and these are games that you can play with without necessarily overly handicapping yourselves. These are games that the kids will actually have a good chance against you, and you can have fun with them. And also, they're games that you're going to enjoy playing too, so that you can actually, when they say, it's not like they're bringing out Candyland, you're like, oh God, I such Candyland. It's going to be games you're going to say, this will be fun. I can't wait to play it. So hopefully that's my goal here.
This is like a public service we're doing here.
Well, yeah, it's through my own discovery of trial and error with games with my kids. So hopefully you'll help it as well. And the particular games I chose for this are games that the kids can actually learn and play by themselves with only a quick lesson. So like the Girl Scout thing, or the brownie thing, Nicole couldn't sit at every single table and watch the kids play because like 14 kids playing 6 games. So these are games you just quickly go through it, they're playing it. Or even my daughters who both have played them before, who are both there, can show the other kids how to play and teach their fellow kids to play it. So they're that simple. And also I think a big driving force of what makes kids like games are the components. So you'll see a theme with these games that all the components are really unique and interesting, and some of them are very, very impressive. So hopefully
I can't wait.
We'll just go through that as well. So my plan of attack on this is that my role is to go through all the rules because I played all these games, and I'm going to let Craig be the young child and his little inner child. And I got all the games right here. He's going to open the boxes and describe the components to you, and kind of let you know what he thinks of them and what he thinks of the component quality. Because I think the components are really what get the kid interested in learning the rules.
Sorry, got it.
Once they see them, they'll get all excited. There you go. Have some more soda. Brush your teeth. Okay, so Raef, did you want to say anything? What do you think about that, Raef?
I think that's a great plan. You already mentioned it. The only thing I was going to say is what I've had success with playing with stuff in my own gamer closet, which we'll get to later, is doing the handicap method we handicap yourself, and I've got a couple tricks on that, and we can talk about that as we go along.
Sure. All right. So up first on the game hit parade for the whole family, number one, and this is the most findable game. I
think you made up a word.
I did. So this game is the easiest to find, and it is Sorry Sliders.
Ooh.
So
I've seen that advertised.
So while Craig is looking at the box and opening it up, I'll go through the overview. Sorry Sliders handles 2 to 4 players. The official age on the box is 6+, but I'm going to tell you Russ's rule of game age system. For most games, you can take -2 off the age of the game, and it's still playable for most kids if the parent's there.
Now, is that just your opinion, or is that
That's
like
what I've found. So not if it's 4+, because a 2-year-old probably can't play a 4-player. But I found like a 12+ game, a 10-year-old could probably play it. A 10+ game, an 8-year-old probably could play it with your help. But the age of the boxes usually means the kid can figure out themselves if the parent's not there, or at least with a very quick session. So in this example, both my daughters are my daughters, by the way, for everybody, just so they know. My oldest is 7 and my youngest is 6. So they're right in the age bracket for Sorry Sliders. And the theme here is the old classic board game Sorry meets a game like shuffleboard or curling.
Curling!
Is essentially what's happening here. So what comes in the box there, Craig?
Well, I've opened the box, and it's got lots of cardboard components because it's basically like you said, it looks like a shuffleboard. I don't know what that word is. The court of a shuffleboard, I guess.
Yeah,
so there's like a rectangular centerpiece.
Yeah. It's actually there's several square centerpieces.
So there's a center square piece, and then off the centerpiece in 4 different directions, if you're playing 4 players, are 4 tracks.
And the tracks they're cardboard. They're not super thick. They're not Space Hulk thick, but they're good. They're thick. I think a kid would probably have to spend at least 5 or 10 minutes chewing through them before they could really make a mark.
And there's nice little plastic things that snap on the edges to give them rails.
Who's doing the?
Sorry, go ahead.
Doing the component?
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
Just open
so they have really cool plastic rails so that the little model things won't bounce off of. Because what you're primarily going to be doing is taking. I made a mess.
It's okay.
It's all very nicely bagged because the Wakeland daddy is clearly a groundskeeper.
Right.
Yep.
And what you're looking at is there's 4 colors, and each color has 8 pawns, 4 little pawns that are used for scoring, and 4 big pawns that have a kind of a ball bearing in the bottom so that you can actually slide them along the cardboard tracks.
Right.
And you're basically exactly like shuffleboard, but it comes with 3 different centerpieces, and 2 different centerpieces, but each one has 2 sides.
Double-sided, right.
And each one has a different game, basically, or scoring apparatus on it. So there's
apparatus.
See how I did that? So there's 4 different games.
Right.
And then there's different ways you can put all the pieces together, so you can make really long tracks that you have to slide it all the way down to make it more challenging, or short tracks. And so it looks like it gives you a lot of different options. And exciting to me, although the one thing is I can't get the rule sheet out of the box, is that the rule sheet is one sheet of cardboard written on both sides, but it's not very complex.
So it's not intimidating for the parent.
It is not intimidating
whoever teaching
for the
it, even if
parent.
it's the first time.
Yeah.
I literally opened the box. I was playing with my kids in like under 5 minutes.
Yeah. The pawns are really cool, translucent plastic with really nice colors. So, I mean, it's really going to be bright, flashy colors, and that's also on the cardboard ramps and things like that. So,
right, so that's what comes in the box.
I like it.
So you're already attracted to it. Good. So now we're moving on to how the game plays.
I like it.
So here's how it works. You set up your game, and in a 4-player game, you're going to attach your 4, and each of these tracks, by the way, the straight pieces, the thin straight pieces are color-coded to match the player. So there's blue, green, red, and yellow, and they match your pawns. And you set these tracks up, you lock them in a special way to the center square piece. And then what you do is there's also a little score tracker. And the score tracker piece looks sort of like the end zone from the original Starry game or the end zone from Parcheesi. It's got a few spaces on it. It's actually got 7 spaces. It takes a 7 count to get to the end. So there's 6 spaces, and then there's the hole at the end, which is home. And what you do when you set the game up is you set your tracks up. You put all your little tiny pawns, your scoring pawns, on the start space on your little scoring track. So there's a scoring track for each player. And then, starting with the youngest player, the youngest player will slide their pawn down their track and try to get it somewhere on the center target square. And there's different bullseye rings that give you different scores or numbers depending on where your pawn ends up. Now, what's interesting is there's also a little foul line on your sliding thing, so your hand can't cross the foul line. If it does, someone can yell foul, and you get your pieces doesn't count.
It shocks you.
Right. So
No,
player
it
1
doesn't shock
slides her piece down to the center of the board, and then player 2 slides his first piece down to the center of the board. And, of course, when you're sliding it down there, I can actually hit player 1's piece and knock it off to a worse score or knock it off of the whole grid altogether, which is called sorry, which makes that piece go out of play, and their highest scoring pawn, wherever it is on the scoreboard, goes back to 0, which is kind of nasty.
That's kind of harsh.
It is. And then, but the tricky part is you don't necessarily want the highest scoring centerpiece, because the centerpiece is worth 5, and then there's like 4, 3, 2, 1, depending on the target grid. So after we've all slid all 4 of our pawns, and they're all there in the middle someplace, we then go and we do scoring. So what happens is I look at my 4 pawns, and let's say 1 pawn is on a 1, 2 are on 2s, and I got a 3 and a 5. That means I can move my scoring pawns now up those segment amounts, but I got to use them. It's kind of like rolling dice in original Sorry. I got to use the numbers I have. And I got to get into the home on exact count. So if I had a 1, I can move 1 pawn 1. If I have a 2, I can move 1 pawn 2. It could be the same pawn I already moved 1, so that can
I
move
don't
3.
believe that's the case. I think you can only move each pawn once. I read the rules.
Oh, maybe.
I think that's
maybe
the
that might be
case.
it. But we were playing that wrong, though. But we moved for each number count we had, we moved them. And then, but the tricky part is you got to get exact count to get a piece home. So once some of your pieces are up the track, you really aren't necessarily wanting that 5 score in the middle. Maybe you're only 2 away from home. You need to get that 2.
Right.
So is this just a dexterous game?
Dexterity?
Yeah.
Yes, for the most part, except that because you have to figure out the numbers you need to get in order to get your
There's
pieces
some
home,
math.
there's some math in there. Because you have to
And
figure
there's
out what
some
you want.
strategy, too, because you're going to have to try to get the numbers that you want.
And it's a total screw your neighbor game because I can knock your pieces off the center. So there's a bit of like, oh, Mom, don't hit my piece. Oh, I'm hitting your piece. Oh, I'm going to block Rose's ramp so she can't get any pieces off there. So there's a whole thing going on there, and the kids love the dexterity sliding them down the thing. So it's got a little bit of everything going on there. It's very quick. You each go around, and then once you've each slid all your pieces, you score, and you keep repeating until someone gets all 4 of their pieces into home on their scoreboard. Now, what makes the game even more interesting is, as Craig mentioned, there are actually 4 different game modes you can play based on which of the center square sort of target pieces you have face up. The basic game is just a standard bullseye. Then there's one, you flip it over, and there's a red one with like hot dots on it.
And those are bad.
And so if your slider ends up on one of those, it gets removed from the board and doesn't score. And then there's one with a hole in the middle that's exactly the size of the base of your piece. If your piece lands in there on the good version of that, one of your pawns directly goes to home, which is great. But you flip that board over, and now if you get in that centerpiece, one of your pawn goes from its best position back to 0. So there's 2 variants that way as well. So it's a really interesting game. There's a lot of little variety to it. It plays very, very fast. Great for younger players because they can get right into it. They understand the sliding. And it's fun for older players, too, because they can try to block each other out and things like that.
I was having a blast all by myself.
Just sliding, right. You can even play by yourself.
That's what I wanted to ask you. Is the sliding part cool?
Yeah, and that was my question. That was what I wanted to check, and it does slide well. It's not sliding so slickly that it goes right over it. I mean, you do have to put some oomph behind it, but it does slide. It's a neat mechanic. The pieces seem to be to work very well.
So, if you want it, here are the details. It was published in 2008 by none other than Parker Brothers.
Who are they again?
Yeah. So the nice thing about being Parker Brothers is this game you can find everywhere. Every big box store will have this thing. Target, Walmart, Toys R Us, you name it, they've got it. MSRP is $30, but you can probably find it cheaper at a Target or a Walmart or your friend at a professional gaming store. So check out those places for that. Great game, and again, it is the most findable of the games we're going to review today because it is by Parker Brothers.
Findable.
All right. So that is Sorry Sliders. Now let's move on to the Black Pirate.
Or Der Schwarzpirat.
Right. Now this, I'm going to call
This is
this
the one with puffs of air.
Yes, it's my most innovative game in the
So
collection.
you like the dexterity games, it seems.
Well, there's non-dexterity games coming. Don't you worry none about that. But, kids love dexterity games, especially young kids. That's, I think, what I found, too.
See, I'm just a bad parent, and since I'm so bored, I don't play them with them.
Well, that could be. I think you'd enjoy these games, though. You should try them out. So now this game, Craig is opening the box to take a look at it, is 2 to 4 players. Target age is 5 up. I will say that I played it with Kit when she was 4. So the -2 rule, I don't know about 3-year-olds in this one, but they'd have fun squirting the air. More about that in a bit. But 4 and up can handle it easily. 5 and up will actually start getting the strategies because there actually are some strategies in this game. Not deep strategies, but some fun little strategy. And the overview of the game is it comes with a really pretty, and Craig will get into the components in a minute, 4-piece puzzle board that sort of snaps together into a giant,
beautiful
sort of island, like sort of Caribbean area, and you're commanding these little wooden sailing ships. And using puffs of air from a little air squirter thing, you're going to move your boats around the board and try to collect coins from the various islands that have money on them. Meanwhile, though, there's a black pirate ship that can be controlled by any player depending on how the dice roll, and if they control the black pirate, they can steal money from your boats or steal money from the land as well. So that's basically it. It's a pirate ship game.
Okay.
So, Craig, what do you think of the components in this baby?
It's a Euro game.
Definitely a Euro game.
The boats are little meeple boats. They're they're bopals.
They're boat shaped, but they have little
and they have nifty little sails.
They're made out of wood?
Cloth sails. Wooden boats with cloth sails.
Wooden boats with cloth sails. The board is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Really?
It's it's 3-dimensional because it has a border that goes all the way around it, and the artwork is just really neat. It's very kids' bedroomy to me.
Yep.
Little aliens, little animals like giraffes poking their heads out of the jungle on one side, and there's little. I would assume that these little markers are going to eventually come into gameplay, like the little flags that say various things.
Right.
Does it have an eye?
It doesn't. There are no eyes.
No.
But it should. But yeah, it's the fact that it's really cool. They feel like they're vinyl. The colors are beautiful, very vibrant colors. What are the bags for?
Okay, so there's Craig's looking at what are you looking at there? Four cloth bags that match the four colors of the boats.
Yep.
And then you've got what do you got in that thing there?
This little Tupperware container has two. They look like battle lore dice.
Two big wooden dice with flags of colors on one side,
and then these coins.
Those are the money. The wooden discs for the gold. Gold coins, right?
Wooden discs that are painted yellow.
So what's going to happen here is there's two dice, as Craig saw. One of the dice has little colored flags on it, and you start the game by you assemble the board.
Did I mention that the islands are raised so the boats can't go on them?
Right. So the islands are raised.
It's 3-dimensional. It's really cool.
And there's a little border edge, so there's a little raised edge, and it's a flat board.
So the boats won't go over that.
Right. Your boats all have these starting spots, and now near the islands also there's a little lighter part of the water. Okay, and we'll get to more of that in a minute. So in the islands, some of the islands have little colored flags on them, just colored onto the board. Okay. And there's also an island with a little black layer. So the black pirate boat goes in the black pirate island layer. The rest of the boats start in their starting positions. And what you do is, starting with you also put 2 coins on every island with a flag. Okay. Then, but there's many more than 2 coins per island in the bucket of coins. So the first player that goes rolls both dice. One of the die, and they're 6-sided, they're D6s, but they're nice, big, really lovely wooden dice with painted icons on them. The one of the dice is going to show you flags. Most of the flags are one color, but some of the sides of the die have 2 colored flags on it. Whatever color flag you see, you put 1 gold coin on that island that matches the flag. So as you're playing the game, more gold's going to be springing up on random islands throughout the game.
Oh, that's cool.
The other die you're going to roll is going to either have a number next to a sail symbol, which is the number of puffs of air you get to move your boat, or it'll be a little black pirate with a number next to it, which is the number of puffs of air you get to use the black pirate's boat. So if you get to move your own boat, what you then do is you take the squirter, and if you're a parent, this is actually the thing you use to clean a kid's ear. You get at a hospital, but it's a little squirter thing. You hear it. Okay, you hear the air. Hear that.
Is it blue?
No, it's actually that orange hospital color, orange color.
I'd call it a red.
It throws a nice bit of air. What you're basically going to do is you're going to squirt your boat. Now, here's a tip. One of the rules is if you squirt your boat and your boat falls over on its side, it's got to go back to its starting position. Or if your boat ends up on land somehow, you squirt it so hard it shoots up out of the board or onto the island, goes back to its start. So you don't want to do that. So there's a balance between squirting the boat just right to get it to move in the right direction and not knock it over. So if you roll a 3, you get 3 squirts against your boat. Now, here is as an adult player, you got to kind of decide what constitutes a squirt, because a young player who barely squeezes it and sort of misses, you might let them go twice to try to get a hang of it. But anyway, you squirt your boat, you squirt it 3 times. If your boat ends one of its squirts, so a part of it or all of it are in one of the lighter shaded areas near an island, you've essentially docked with that island, and you get to take all the coins off of the island and put them in your bag. Those are those fancy bags. Because you don't know how much money each player has. And then someone else goes, and you start collecting the coins. Now, remember, the coins are springing up randomly around the islands. That's really the whole game, but the extra bonus is, if you roll the black pirate number, instead of squirting your own boat, you squirt the black pirate boat. Now, during the course of, you have 2 choices where you're squirting the black pirate boat. You can either go for an island, and if you make it there, you get to take the money just as if it was your own boat, and then the black pirate goes back home with his booty. You get to keep the money, but that's just a fluff. He goes back home. Or if you're squirting the black pirate boat and you manage to make him touch one of the other player's boats, you get to steal money from the other player. And how this works is the other player takes 3 coins out of his or her bag and then divides the coins any way he or she wants between your 2 hands and closes them as fists. So you can put all 3 in one hand and none in the other. You can put 2 in one or however you want to do it. Okay? Then the black pirate player picks one of your hands and whatever's revealed is how many coins he gets to steal from you. Kind of a little mini game there. And that's all there is to it. And you keep going until all the coins are on the islands and all the islands have been collected from coins and the guy with the most coins in the bag wins.
Yep.
Now, I have this envisionment of Russ chastising his older daughter. Now, I don't know. That was a puff. I got to call a puff there.
Well, what happens is what's interesting about it is kids, I've discovered, they love rules. And they will follow any rules. And every parent has experienced this. They will follow any rule you tell them to the letter.
That's very
But they will
true.
also work very hard to work around the rule as long as it says to the letter. You know what I mean? So like, for example, you may not eat any snacks. Why are you drinking chocolate milk? I'm drinking a snack. I'm not eating it. You know, that's the way kids roll, right? So the games are the same way. So if I say it's not a squirt, and then my youngest kid, who was at the time 4, drops the thing while she's kind of squirting it and the boat doesn't move. And she's like, oh, I know I dropped it. I'd be like, go ahead, sweetie, take another turn. But Rose would be like, well, I don't know. That looked like a squirt to me, kind of thing. So that's where you're more moderating in with the young kids. But you're right. When you're older, of course, when Nicole and I are going, because we're playing 4-player, she and I get each other's grill. That was a squirt you blew, kind of thing. So it's kind of funny. But it's a fun game. It's one of those games where
Yep. So these things move around when you squirt them. Because I just picture they fall over.
No, they do. They move.
They do move. Did you try it?
I just did try them.
Yep. You got to aim at the base, though. That's the trick.
Yeah, it took me a couple tries because I was pumping the thing and it was just moving a little bit. But yeah, if you catch it just right, you can shoot it across the board.
And you
quite
can get
a
them to
ways.
go really far, actually.
Yeah.
I'm hating. I have this thought in my mind, and I'm not going to say it.
Good man. See, that's self-editing, Raef. You're working on that, and we appreciate that.
So it's really it's a fun little game. Again, kids warm right up to it because the components are just beautiful, and it's fun to play with your kids because there's a little bit of strategy, a little bit of tactics, and it's fun. If you're interested in this game, this is probably also the hardest game on the list to find.
Oh yeah, why is it so hard to get? Is it because it's out of print?
It's not out of print. It's if you go to it was published in 2006 by a company called Haba.
So you can go to Myriad Games and say, "Dan,
Haba.
Well, yes. And you could go, in fact, that's what I did. That's how I got mine.
Or you could go to the War Store.
Well, the War Store doesn't carry Haba, I noticed. I did check for them. Haba's kind of it's a German company, and they make a lot of really kid-friendly games with amazing components. There's one other Haba game on the list we'll get to a little later. But so it's kind of hard to find. You got to have a really good professional gaming store to get this thing or go online. I did see a copy. Its MSRP is $60, but as Craig saw from the components, I mean,
it is very, it really does look like decorations from a kid's bedroom.
It's really beautiful.
Not to beat a dead horse, but to beat a dead horse. So if you have your friendly professional game store, you go to Dan and Myriad Games, you say, Dan, get me this. Does he mean that he's like, I can't get any, there aren't any to get? Or do you mean you're not going to go to a Target to get it?
I mean, Dan could get it for you, but he'd have to special order it, but he could get it.
From Germany.
He doesn't carry it, and you can't get it. There's no distributors in the United States that carry it.
That's what I was wondering.
So he got it for me, but I had to pay $60 MSRP plus shipping from Europe. So for me, it was like $75 to get the game. But I knew I really wanted it. I thought it was very collectible. I just like.
Are you happy with the purchase?
I totally am, because I like, part of it is that it's just a really unique game. It's probably one of the most unique games I own in terms of just, I mean, how many games you get to squirt ships around on a table? I mean, that's just really interesting.
Very true.
And it's really, really fun. It's one of those games I think the kids will all have really enjoyed. They always used to bring it out, and it's one of those games they'll remember when they're old. Like, remember that crazy pirate game Dad had? That was nuts. So it's the kind of game, I was
like Yacht Race.
Yeah, like Yacht Race. That's a game that my parents had that I loved that lasted forever with metal boats, but it's a different story. So,
all right, what's the next one?
All right, next up. Here you go, Raef. Absolutely no dexterity up next. Fish Eat Fish.
Is my kind of game.
Now, of the 3 games,
this is a Reiner Knizia game.
It is a Reiner Knizia game. This game is the most sophisticated game of the bunch.
You have to stand in line for that guy.
Yeah.
You can't just walk up to any booth.
Right.
And think you're going to get his autograph, because you can't.
So this game is actually a solid game that I really enjoy, and I'm glad my kids like it, because I was nervous about it because it is a little more sophisticated than the other games they played, but they really got into it. It handles 2 to 5 players, which is nice. It actually goes one above 4. So if you've got 3 kids in your family, or you got an extra guys hanging out in your house or whatever, or grandma's over, you can get her in on the game too.
That's creepy sounding. You have extra guys hanging out in your house.
Right. Just whatever.
We're going to play children's games with that extra guy we got hanging out in the house.
Who you? you? Who's that guy with the binoculars? Come on in.
Sadly, Craig, knowing Russ as we do, he would.
Yeah.
Ask that strange guy.
he would.
The age limit, here's a good example. This game's official age in the box is 8+. Here's my -2 rule in effect, though. Rose and Kit both love this game. Kit is 6 and Rose is 7. It was also a big hit at the Brownie Troop thing, and again, a lot of 7-year-olds there as well. And this is interesting. The theme of this game is you're going to use maneuver and hand management with cards to eat, i.e. capture, other fish and have your own fish grow. So basically,
You've mentioned this game in the past.
I have talked about this game before, and Craig is now looking at it as we speak.
Craig, now I'm picturing a bunch of 7-year-olds going, so what theme do you guys feel like today?
Well, kids don't read it that way. They just have a blast. So it's like, oh, cool
know,
little
I
fish.
know.
And the fish are all these bright colors as Craig will get in them now. So, Craig,
All right, I want to know how to play this game.
well, let's talk about components. Craig, what are you looking at there in the box?
Well, the first thing you see is the rules again. This is another. It's a 1 page. It folds out 2 sides, so it's very. Looks like a very easy to get to access rule set. The board is extremely heavy stock for a game board. It's very, very glossy. The artwork is not nearly as nice as the pirate game.
Yeah, the artwork's not as nice.
It's very
It's very cartoony.
it's not even. I wouldn't say cartoony. It actually looks like they're trying to capture kids doodling fish.
Yes,
that's
you're
exactly
right.
what it looks like.
Good description. I think you're right.
There's some nice little shading and stuff, but it's
Fun colors.
very
Purple,
glossy.
purples, reds, blues.
Yeah.
you know.
So the kids are going to like the colors. The fish look really interesting because they
They stack.
stack and they look sort of like owls.
So imagine the fish are facing down, right?
Yeah.
With their little
They're
fins in the air and their
Very
mouth open.
they're sort of like piranha. They're very wide at the bottom and then they go up. I'm telling you, it looks like an owl.
It does. Sort of.
It's the silhouette of an owl.
Oh yeah, if you ignore the and the reason they're funny shapes is because they stack on top of each
Yes,
other.
they
So the
stack.
idea is there's a visual of the fish eating each other in a row.
It is kind of violent because they're like sharp, pointy.
Oh yeah, this is a very violent little. little
what's
game.
the really neat?
There's also a little starfish
little
token.
starfish that is head and shoulders component wise above everything else in the
Is
game.
it like metal painted thing or plastic?
I think it's resin, but it's like it's multiple painted colors. It really feels like something you'd see at a gift shop.
It's interesting because it's the
and
most.
He looks sad though.
It's
He's
the most
sad.
impressive piece, and it's also the most not important piece.
Oh, okay.
It's just a battle marker, really, and whose player turn it is. Really, it's all his job
Oh
is.
wow.
But he's
Okay.
neat. But again, kids love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then you got a big old deck of cards.
And
right?
then a big old deck of cards that looks to be color coordinated. Now I am confused. There is 15 purple fish, and then 5 green, 5 blue, 5 yellow, 5 red. I assume
me
you're going to be addressing
Explain that.
Okay.
So once
I have a component question.
yes, Raef?
The deck of cards.
Yes.
Big for little kids' hands?
that.
Regular
Normal size.
They're normal playing card
But they're
size.
very high quality. They're
Glossy.
they're glossy. They're
Are they
nice.
a little bit thicker
No.
so they don't kind of spill all around?
No, a kid could go through these in about 10 minutes maybe, chewing.
Yeah. They're but it's the components again are nice.
And it's each kid's only going to have looks like maybe 6 cards each.
I think there's
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
they're going to have 8 number cards. It should be, and then 2 sharks and an octopus.
Well, they may not be all organized.
Yeah,
in
they may
here
not be
right now,
organized in there.
But it looks like they're going to have a very limited small
Right.
hand.
So it's about they're going to have like 11 cards total. But as they play a card, it doesn't come back into their hand.
Right.
So their hand will get smaller as the game goes on.
Yeah.
What my girls do is they put them all down in front of themselves and they start peeking at them, and
Gotcha.
they're not really good at managing hands yet
Yeah.
in terms of holding them. But so basically, yeah, that's the components, and it also comes
fish
with a
are all
nice.
plastic. They're all very durable plastic.
And as Raef would say, how's the box management?
The box management is beautiful. The star that is apparently almost pointless has a beautiful little insert. It has a plastic insert, the box does, with a place for the cards with lovely little thumb holes so you can get the cards right out. Although it does, the thumb holes don't go all the way to the bottom, so you do have to kind of scoop a little bit. A nice little insert for the for the starfish. And then the insert for the fish, the little stacking Russian doll fish,
Yeah, they're like nesting dolls, right?
is great because each fish has a corresponding little bump that it swallows to keep it in place inside the box.
Right. So they're all like little soldiers in a row.
So
in there.
they rest in like regimented, rank,
So
rank
must
and-
just really get Russ riled
rank
up.
and
Oh, it's
file.
good looking. So here's how you do it.
I can hear him salivating. Look
Oh,
at
he
all they're
does.
all
So
lined up like
the
little
game board,
sliders.
the game board in the middle of it is like a giant matrix grid. It's a bunch of
Yes,
dots. Okay,
yeah.
so the circles are about the size of each piece, and they go across in like a little. I can't remember the count, but it's like 20 by 20 or 10 by 10 or some number of some grid there for the
Let's
dots.
test Russ's memory. It's actually 5 by 5.
5 by 5. I was totally wrong. So 5 by 5 grid, and the matrix goes in, so it's like a little, there's like a smaller square and a smaller square. So there's a bunch of dots where the fish are going to go. And there's lines connecting all the circles. That's basically the movement paths you can move on. What you're going to do is when you're setting up, each player gets 5 stackable fish. Okay? So if you're playing with less than 5 players, each one gets one of the main color, and the purple fish are going to be the neutral fish. That's why there's more purple fish than any other color, because every space on the board must have a fish at the start of the game. So there's less, if there's exactly 5 players, each player has 5 squares, 5 fish, and as we talked about, it's a 5 by 5 board. So with a quick multiplication, you will discover there's 25 squares. So that will fill the board. However, if there's only 2 players playing, you only get 10 fish. So the other 10 fish come from, the other 15 fish come from the purple fish. So they fill the rest of the board up.
Gotcha.
So you see the board. How this basically works is each player in the game can put their fish anywhere. You go around the table starting with someone. They put one of their fish in one of the circles. The next person goes. And the rule is you can't put a fish adjacent to another fish of the same color unless you have no other choice. Once everybody's fish are down on the board,
And this counts the same for the neutral fish, too?
Well, the neutral fish aren't there yet. So you're starting out putting your own fish down. Once everybody's fish are down, any empty spaces are filled in with neutral fish. Like that. Okay. So in a 5-player game, there'll be no neutral squares. Everybody's down. Then you get your deck of cards. So there's a hand of cards for each colored player. And there's going to
11 cards is a lot for a little kid to hold.
There's 11 cards, but you can put them down in front of you, like I said.
So you don't need to be looking at them the whole time.
No, because everybody's cards are the same. So everybody's got 11 cards. 8 of the cards are the numbers 1 through 8 on them, and then there's 2 sharks and a octopus card. Okay, more about that in a bit. So in your turn, you can basically either move your fish or attack, and you have to attack if you can. So there's no attack option for you. That means you're not adjacent to any fish that you want to eat. And you can eat your own fish. You can eat purple fish, you can eat your own fish, or you can eat enemy fish. Doesn't matter. But if there's nobody to attack, you can simply move. And you can move basically in a straight line as far as you want to go, and then you're done. If you want to attack, here's how this works. If it's a neutral fish or one of your own fish, you automatically win the attack, and you take your attacking fish, move them into the circle you're attacking, and just stack them on top of the fish that's there. So if you're blue and you're attacking a blue fish, you stack it up, now you got a 2-stack high blue fish. There's purple there, you put your blue guy on top of the purple guy, and then I got 2-stack high fish with purple under blue. And because of the funky drawing that Craig was describing with the mouths open, it starts to look like one of those pictures you see of a little fish eating a bigger fish, eating a bigger fish, eating a bigger fish, or vice versa. So it kind of looks like they're eating themselves in a big stack. So you're stacking your guys up. If I'm going to attack someone who's another player in the game, so let's say Craig's playing red and I'm blue, and I say, Craig, I'm attacking you. We're going to use our cards from our hand to fight the battle. Kind of like...
Just like Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, right. So... Craig puts a card face down in front of him from his hand. I put a card face down in front of myself. We both say, ready, go, and you reveal your card. You take the number on the card, you add the size of your stack, and whoever is higher is the winner. So if my fish's stack is 2 high, and Craig's is 1 high, and I play a 3, and Craig plays a 4, Craig got a 5 total, and I got a 5 total, which is a tie. If it's a tie, all the fish die, and nobody gets any points for that. So they just go off out of the game. So you don't want to tie. Ties are bad. If I win, I move my stack on top of Craig's, and if Craig wins, he moves his stack on top of mine. So if I had a 3 stack against Craig's 1 fish, and I won, I'd get my stack on that become 4 high. But if Craig wins, he goes on top of my 3 stack, and he's just got a 4-stack fish.
Yeah.
So if he had a really high card, like an 8, and I only played a 2, he'd have gotten me. Okay, that's all there is to the combat. Now, what's interesting though is
you use the card, you can't use it anymore. Right?
That's right. So once I play my kick butt 8 card. And you see I played my kick, and the whole table sees it. It's out of my hand, and you know, aha, Russ has no 8s left, right? Because everybody's hand's the same. Now, there's a couple things that throw a kink.
This sounds like fun.
It's a fun game, and it's a fun game for adults too. It's a neat, interesting game. You can tell it's a Kanitska game. He's really sharp with his game designs.
Yeah.
The shark card throws a wrench into the system because a shark always wins. So if I play a shark and I got 1 fish, and Craig's got a 5-fish stack and plays an 8, and I play a shark, I win. I heat his guy.
It's a trump.
Okay, it's trump. If he plays a shark and I play a shark, tie, all our fish are dead.
Wow.
Nobody gets any points. If, though, the other card you can play is an octopus. Now, an octopus is interesting. The octopus played means the combat is null and void, nothing happens.
Ooh.
Okay? So what you want to do is draw someone's shark out to your octopus.
You could draw their trump card out and nullify it.
Exactly right. And it's funny because Rose and Kid have had these debates before in the middle of the game. Rose will go, so, kid, have you played your octopus card? And they start looking and bluffing each other. Yes, I have. No, I haven't. They get this whole thing. Daddy, do you remember? I'm not telling. Kind of thing. So it's really interesting. Now, what's interesting, too, is once your stack gets to 5 fish, any extra fish your stack eats does not stack any higher. The stack's max size is 5, but any extra fish go to your catch, which is your score. So you take that fish. If I have a 5 stack and I take out a 2 stack, those 2 extra fish go into my catch. That's what I'm
so you could have a bunch of 5 stacked fish, but be losing the game because you don't have any in your catch.
And the game plays until there's only 1 fish left. So as soon as
this sounds like fun.
It's a really good game.
I'll play right now.
I'll bring it next Tuesday. So
hey Russ, bring it Tuesday.
I will.
I don't know when StarCraft's starting.
I will.
Maybe we can play
I will.
First.
Yeah, I'll bring it. So so basically, once there's 1 fish left, I'm the last player, but I'm out of 1. Because Craig could have gone out early, eating a bunch of his own fish, jacked this guy up to 5, killed 3 more guys, and it ended.
It's a Quidditch rule.
It's a very interesting Quidditch rule. So you really got to watch how it rolls. And sometimes it's very good to eat your own fish because you build your stack, which gives you bonuses to win the hand, but you're reducing the number of fish you can move with and attack with. It's really interesting. Neutrals are very good.
Is Quidditch rule official to us? I think, Craig, you created that, or did you hear that somewhere else?
I mean, it is the rule in Quidditch. I don't.
I know, but then applying.
I don't think I've ever heard it applied to regular gaming.
No, I think that was something that Craig started using on the show. Yes. So the Quidditch rule is basically a game that can end some other way but doesn't necessarily win by ending.
It ends by an action of a player, but you don't actually win by doing that action alone.
So what's really interesting about this game is there's a lot going on here. Because there's total player interaction, there's total faking each other, there's bluffing. What card are you going to play?
Plastic fish to stack.
There's great stacking plastic
they
fish.
do look neat.
And so
I've seen it set up at Dan's.
Yeah, so if you want this game, and it's interesting, Dan had a deal going on at Christmas time where if you spend a certain amount of money, he gave you a free copy of Fish Eat Fish. That's how I got mine. The game is...
I can't remember what I got, but I gave it away to Toys for Tots. I should have got this game and kept it.
So basically... and again, it's the most sophisticated of the bunch. My girls love it. It was a huge hit with the Brownies, too. Kids of most ages will really enjoy this game, I think.
You know what? I bet you it'd be good with chocolate brownies.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be.
And milk.
So if you want this game, it was published in 2003, but out of the box. It's still in print. It's available in most friendly professional gaming stores. I've also seen it, though, in Barnes & Noble occasionally because they're expanding a little bit.
Especially during Christmas.
And I've seen it in specialty kids stores, like the stores, that carry like lots of Playmobil and little stuff like that. They'll have these kind of games. It's kind of an educational game. And its MSRP is about $25. So not a bad price either for, I think, a solid little game.
No, it is.
So really like that game. That's the game I do enjoy the most when I want to play it because it's really it's a very good adult game as well as a kid game. On to Pengoloo. Now, of the bunch here, Pengoloo is probably the simplest game, believe it or not, but it's also the most accessible. So this is a great game for even the youngest of players. This is a game that's 2 to 4 players, ages 4 and up. But I think a 3-year-old can handle this as well very easily. And the theme here is penguins on eggs, and it's basically it's a concentration game with bonus rules. Basically, you're going to be worried about the penguins are these really beautiful and Craig
they are beautiful
wooden penguins that sit on top of painted wooden eggs. Everything's painted, and you're trying to remember which colored eggs are under which penguin. So, Craig, why don't you describe these really amazing components?
All right, well, first off, it's got the coolest game control or component control of any. It looks like a shadow box when you open it.
It does, doesn't it?
It's got basically it's got a long little section at the bottom where I'm guessing that's a score tracker.
Yeah, that's where you put your penguins that you capture more.
But it's wood. They look like those old little wooden 8-inch rulers, but they're not straight. They're all like jagged like ice.
It's supposed to be an iceberg, right? An iceberg.
And then there are 6 little cubby holes, and each cubby hole has 2 amazingly cute little penguins. They're wooden penguins. They're all painted up with orange beaks and the tuxedo, really really quizzical looks in their eyes. And they're set into the boxes 2 by 2, and each one has a colored wooden egg inside it, and the egg has a flat end, so it does sit on its own when you lift the penguin up. And then there's 2 really big, very Euro game wooden dice that just have colors on each face.
Right, colored dots.
Colored dots.
So the idea is these penguins sort of are covers for the eggs, so they're hiding the egg colors. And how this really works is very, very simple. Basically what you do is you set up your penguins in the middle of the table with eggs under them, kind of shuffle them around so no one really knows which colors are where. Each person gets one of the little iceberg ice flows, which have numbers on them from 1 to 6.
Yep.
And there's like little half grooves in them that if you notice, Craig, you can slide a penguin right into that groove.
Oh, yeah.
And so the idea is as you catch your penguins, you fill up those little grooves, and when you get to 6, the first person to 6 penguins in their grooves is the winner. The tricky part is getting to take a penguin. How that works is when it's your turn, you roll the 2 big wooden dice. So let's say, and they're all colors on them, so I might roll a yellow and an orange. When I roll a yellow and an orange, I get to look under 2 penguins, and I'm hoping to find either a yellow or an orange, or hopefully both. Okay? So I look under a penguin, I found a blue. Cover up the blue again. Look at another penguin, I found an orange. If I found an orange, I get to slide that penguin and take and put them on my iceberg. Now, if I was really lucky and got both the colors I was looking for, I get both penguins and I get to take another turn.
Oh.
So if I got on a roll. So basically, the first time, you're not going to probably find what you're looking for, find one, but you're trying to memorize, right, what everybody's showing, because as they show the eggs, they grab them, okay? Now, in the single player version, that's the game. So I roll 2 dice, I capture the penguin on my thing, you roll 2 dice, you capture what you remember, we keep going around the table until somebody catches 6 penguins, game over, okay? The evil variant, which makes it a lot more fun, surprisingly, even though it's a very simple game, is you're allowed to, as an optional rule, steal a penguin one of your opponents has if you remember the color he has. So if Rose rolls blue and yellow, and she finds a blue and takes it, and then I roll a blue and green, I can say, well, my blue is going to be the one Rose just took and lift it up and show her blue and slide it over to my iceberg.
That's just mean.
That creates a whole screw your neighbor component because it's 4 players. Are you going to take from mom? Are you going to take from kid? And as your iceberg builds up with penguins, you got to remember whose egg is where. Now, this leads to all kinds of interesting optional rules. Are you allowed to slide your penguins around in your iceberg, trying to forget where the colors are? Are you allowed to, after you, like Rose likes the rule where you group all the penguins together, and then you slide a penguin out, look under its egg, and then slide it back wherever you want. So she's got this whole thing where she's constantly sliding the penguins around, so no one can remember where anything is. She's also got a memory like a steel trap, so it doesn't hurt her at all. It's really trouble.
There's an interesting problem with the box, though.
Oh, there's a little window, right?
There's a beautiful penguin-shaped window in the box with a plastic insert so you can see through it, but it does not line up with the beautiful inside of the box.
I think it did one time, and I think the children have actually dumped the box totally out and somehow put the box management in wrong. I don't know how they did it.
I don't know.
Russ,
yes.
How do you handicap yourself with this game? Like, in the simple rules, I could imagine just my memory blowing through the kids' memory.
Surprisingly, it doesn't. My kids,
I would say not.
You'd be surprised how good kids are at concentration.
Okay.
They are really good at it. In fact, I bet you that your kids will beat you at this more often than you beat them. Try it.
Okay.
And
I know what you mean. I can know what you mean.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's not a game where years of wisdom would help you here.
Right.
So it's and that's really all there's to it. I think what really the hallmark of this game, the components are wonderful. That's what makes this game.
The way you're describing it, I'd expect the game to cost $60.
Actually, MSRP is it's between $25 and $30, depending on where you find it. It was published in 2007 by a company called Blue Orange Games, and their slogan is all wooden pieces. All their games are totally wood, and they're really beautiful components. So if you see one of their games and you think it looks interesting to you, I would recommend, just on the components alone, it's probably worth checking out.
That sounds pretty fun, too, and I like how it has a lower age component to it.
Yep, it's great for younger kids. They'll love the penguins.
It looks gorgeous.
And again, this game is not hard to find. It's kind of like Fish Eat Fish. Your friendly professional gaming store can definitely get it for you, but you might even see it at I think I saw it actually at Toys R Us online only. You can get it that way. Our Amazon has it. You'll probably see it. I know the Barnes & Nobles are starting to carry even Fantasy Flight stuff, so they're really going kind of crazy with board games. So I'm sure you can find it there too. But a lot of those really high-end sort of good brain food for your kid type stores will have it too.
I'm dying to hear about the next one too.
All right. Now,
man, there's a lot of things here.
Yeah, this is not that complicated, but it's just really interesting. The final game in our collection here. How are we doing on time? We're doing great on time. Okay, awesome. So the final game that I want to talk about is Jungle Treasure. Now, this game of the bunches, remember, Penguins was most accessible, Pengoloo. Jungle Treasure is probably the most laughing and interaction you're going to have of all these games with your family and friends and with the kids. This game is also great fun with adults, preferably if they've had a few beers. It handles 2 to 4 players, ages 6 up. Again, the -2 rule works great here. I've definitely played this game with Kit when she was 4. And the basic fluff of this game is, and it's by Haba, our folks. And again, I should have mentioned this before. The titles on the Black Pirate and on Jungle Treasure are written in German because it's published primarily in Germany. But don't let that throw you if you see the box. The rules inside are in a bunch of languages, including English. So no problems there.
So here, what you're looking for is Dschungelschatz.
Right. And the goal here is you're trying to complete as many jungle-themed mini games as you can before a timer runs out. That's the whole thing. Okay. So, Craig, what are you seeing there for components?
All right. Well, when you open it up, first the rule book it looks like a little children's book, actually, with a nice little
Kind of like Curious George, almost.
It does look. It's got a very nice little illustration of an adventurer coming out of the jungle. There's a cloth bag that's actually pretty big. It's about the size of your hand, probably, and it seems to be full of multicolored glass beads. That look really neat. Oh, sorry, gemstones. White gemstones, Daddy.
Yep.
And
different colored gemstones, green, yellow, and red, I believe.
There's a wooden. He looks almost like a gingerbread man cutout, but he's wearing a pith helmet.
Yes.
And
he's an adventurer.
He's an adventurer.
And he can stand up in the center of the table. That's important.
He's painted, so he's got some nice thick wood. Mm-hmm. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wooden blocks that look like they came right out of a little kid's wooden block collection.
Mm-hmm.
An egg timer. Mm-hmm. A card that seems to indicate
that's your quick reference
scoring.
Card. Yes, what's your quick reference card for the abilities? More about that in a bit.
And then it looks like 2 different types of cards.
Well, there's a deck of cards there.
A deck of
and then there's
playing cards that are.
And then there's a pile of what we call tiles.
Okay, the tiles. Yeah.
The tiles are.
And they're actually like Fantasy Flight linen paper.
Yeah, they're nice.
Linen card.
And they're double sided. The back's all the same on every tile. In the front.
It's a little waterfall theme.
Yep, the back and the front has a different piece of adventuring gear and type stuff,
yep.
or animals and things like that.
Okay.
And then the deck of cards, we'll get into more about that in a bit. But what do you think of the quality of those cards?
The cards are a little flimsier than the other cards that we looked at, but the artwork is really nice.
Fun,
Again, you could blow these up, and these could be on some kid's wall in the kid's bedroom.
Very kid friendly.
There's some scary looking stuff. There's a snake.
Oh yeah,
there's a creepy looking mask.
So here's the scoop. So that's the components.
Are you building these? Is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah.
Nice.
So here's what happens. So here's game setup. So you got all these components in this box. Not a very lot of box control here either. The box is kind of messy inside.
Just things are
sloppy box.
Yeah, sloppy box. It's a small box too, though. It's easy. What's nice about it is it's very portable. You can take it camping, no problem, or anything like that.
Yeah.
So here's what happens. You put all those little glass beads, gems, in the bag. You put the wooden adventurer, the guy Craig was describing, standing up in the center of the table. The tiles that Craig was talking about, the nice little linen squares, they go face down in a circle around the adventurer. Okay. You shuffle the deck of cards. And you put that in front of the player who's going to go first, and you take all the blocks, those wooden blocks that Craig said from block set, put those in front of the player who's going to go, and you get those little referee cards for quick reference if you want, and that guy gets the hourglass, and then you have the hourglass. Okay, so whoever turn it is, that person is called the explorer. The player to the explorer's left is the jungle guardian. All right, so the jungle guardian's job is to take control of the timer. The explorer, I'm sorry, actually the current player is a treasure hunter because the explorer's he's an explorer. Anyway, the guy whose turn it is going to pull the first stone out of the bag. He's going to reach into the bag and pull a gemstone out. And as soon as he starts to do that, the guardian is going to flip over the timer. And here's what's interesting. The guardian is going to hide the timer behind his or her little hands so the guy whose turn it is can't see the current status of the timer. Okay? So you don't know how much timer's left. You see when the timer's going. Okay? You pull out your gem and you look at your gem. The color of the gem you chose indicates the number of problems you have to solve before you can pull your next gem out. Okay? And that's what the little quick reference card is. A yellow gem is free. You get to keep that and pull another gem. A green gem means you need to solve one problem, and a red gem means you need to solve 2 problems. Okay? So, How do you solve a problem? To solve a problem, you draw a card from that big deck of cards. Okay? And the card's going to tell you the problem to solve. Once you solve that problem, if you need to do another problem because you have a red gem, you draw another card, solve that problem. If you've solved all your problems, then you go ahead and pull another gem. More about the problems in a minute. But so you get through all your problems, and you just keep pulling gems. Now, here's the deal, though. If you keep going until you either, as the explorer, decide you've got enough in you can get and you call time, or until the guardian yells, "Time's up." Okay?
You can only play this game if you have an echo reverb effect available.
If you called time, that's awesome. You get to look at all those little cards you got, all the problem cards you got through. You get to keep, and you're going to get score from those. So those are yours. If the guardian called time, every problem card you solved, you lose, and they go back into the thing that turn. So basically,
did you say the time was random?
No, it's an egg timer. I think it's
probably 3 minutes.
A couple minutes, 1 or 2, 3 minutes. I can't remember. But there's a timer there, so you got to know. So that's the tricky part. You got to kind of guess if you're going to go. And if you pull another gem, you got to finish everything in gems. So you pull a red gem with 2 problems on it. You think you only have time for 1 problem. Now you got a problem because you may not get them both done in the time. You can lose everything you try to earn this turn. So there's a press your luck element to the game.
Huh.
So here's the problem solving. Now what happens is, so remember the timer's running. You flip over a card, you see your first problem. Here's the kind of problems you're going to see. One of the things you're going to see on the card is a little hand throwing a gem. That's the toss and catch problem. And you simply take the gem, you throw it up in the air and catch it, and it has to go up at least 4 inches from your hand. If you do that, you solve it, take the card, move on. Okay?
If I were playing with you, I would just try to throw it and hit you in the sternum as hard as I could.
Yeah, that would not help you. If you drew a card that has a picture of a structure on it, so you're going to pull cards out that have pictures of the different blocks in different shapes. If you pull that out, you got to quickly grab the blocks and make the shape you see on the card. Okay? When you get that shape and everybody goes, looks good, then you can move on to your next problem or draw another gem, depending on how you're doing. If you get a picture that is a tile, so you see a monkey or a piece of rope, that means remember those tiles that are face down around the guy in the center of the table? You got to look through those tiles until you find the piece you're looking for, and then you get to say it's done. You get to keep the card. Now, what's interesting about that is when you flip those things over, you got to let everybody see them, and then you flip them back over when your turn's done. So the thing about that is, if you're good with memory, you can start remembering where those are to get them faster later. So there's a memory component to the game also. And finally, there's there's 2 more steps. The other problem you can get is to complete the mask. So you draw a card, and it's got a mask on it, and the mask will have 3 different colored circles on the mask, and you got to fill those masks with matching gemstones. So you reach into the gem bag, pull out a gem, and you hope you get a color that matches the spot on the mask, and you keep doing that until you fill the mask in. That could be fast or short depending on how much time you have. And then finally...
It's 30 seconds, by the way.
30 seconds on the timer.
That's not a lot of time.
And then finally, there's the Catch the Adventurer card. Now, this is kind of interesting. You flip the Catch the Adventure card over, and the whole table sees it. The first player to reach and grab the adventure from the center of the table gets that card. So it may not be you. So you got to take a quick... That's the kids love that. They go crazy when they grab the adventure thing.
That sounds fun.
All right? That's it. So you go around, you do as many of those as you can. You hopefully figure out you're running out of time and you stop. You keep those cards. Now, what's interesting, too, is the problem cards have a little bag of gold symbol in the corner with a number in it. That's how many points the card is worth at the end of the game. So not every problem is worth equal points. So let's say you get a complete the mask card, which is harder to do early on and gets you 3 gold. You may stop early and say, I got 3 gold this turn, I'm going to stop. Okay? And you play the game until every player has gone 3 times, had 3 chances to try to beat the timer. Once that's over, game's over, add up your points, winner's the winner.
I got a question on the Catch the Adventure thing.
Yeah.
So if you pull that as your problem, we all try to grab it?
Yeah, so when you pull a problem card, you're supposed to flip it over and put it face up for the table to see.
Okay.
So if you're watching carefully and you see that, you're going to try to reach in and grab the adventure before the player...
And then you get the gold.
And if I get it, I get the card, which is the gold on it, right? Exactly.
Okay, cool.
So that's how that works. That's really all there's to it. Now, what's neat about this game is it's surprisingly fun, especially for kids, but it's also fun for adults because you're always knocking things over and trying to get things done and freaking out about the time. What's also interesting is there's a great way, we came up with a great way to level the playing field, because when Kit was playing, she was a 4 at the time we first got the game. Rose is like 5.5, going on 6. I'm there, Nicole's there. It's like, well, clearly the 4-year-old is no way going to be able to do as many of these building things as the 6-year-old or older. What we did was we let Kit have 3 turns of the timer. Rose had 2 turns of the timer, and Mom and Dad only had 1 turn of the timer each. So just by giving younger players more timer flips, they have more time, and it makes the game much more equal.
That's a great idea.
And as an adult, you're still freaking out because you only got 30 seconds, and your kids are actually beating you at the game, and they love that too. So it's good fun.
And they're beating you legitimately under the
timer rule, right? They're still feeling pressure because they have to think a little more at that age, and they're trying building those little towers out of the blocks is a little trickier for them.
I like that leveler. And
now the other thing I found is particularly,
does Nicole give you 2 turns at the timer because she's way better than you at games?
No, she doesn't. But what's interesting though too is I found that with very young kids, you can't really. It's better not to have the rule where you lose everything you earned when the timer runs out. So when Kit was really young, we used to play that you get to keep whatever you got when the timer runs out, and there was no pressure luck element. But the game is much more fun and interesting and really kind of sweaty for the player when you realize, should I go for another round or should I stop or what should I keep or should I go? It makes it a little more interesting. What do you guys think? Any comments or questions about that?
No, it seems like it'd be a fun, quick, fast-paced game,
yes.
and quick too. Like it's gonna be you'll be done with the game relatively quickly.
Right.
Play another round or play something
fun.
else. Yeah, it sounds really fun.
It's over real fast, and Again, it's published by Haba. This game, actually, I've seen in stores in stock before. For some reason, people carry it more. I know Myriad has it in stock. I think I've seen other places too. But again, it's a little hard to find, but it does have the German name on it. But look around for that. You should be able to find it. The MSRP, I think, is about $20, $25. I saw different prices, different places. So that's on that one. So again, these games I talked about today, they're really designed to be, you can teach your kids this game once and they can play it by themselves. And a Rosen kid break these things out when we're sleeping or whatever and playing Fishy Fish and other games on their own now. So that kind of game, you don't have to sit there and coach them or make sure you're there when they're playing it. And they can teach their friends. It's not that complicated, and they all get it really quickly. So hopefully some of these games have inspired you to check these out with your kids.
Mm-hmm.
Rafe, do you have any comments or games you want to talk about?
Yeah, my picks are, and I'm not going to go into detailed review of each one, is Carcassonne for kids. And I recommend, and when I say kids, I guess I'm meaning around that 7 age, and I'll let you know when I'm thinking
Now,
3.
are you not talking about the brand new game called Carcassonne for kids?
I've got a little note on that.
Okay.
So this is to play with your children, the regular old in-your-closet game of Carcassonne. I have found the leveling or handicap is to give yourself less meeples, and that makes it an equal game with your kids.
Yep.
Or you can get Die Kinder von Carcassonne, which is translated, Russ?
Kids of Carcassonne. Or
Right.
Carcassonne Kids.
Kids of Carcassonne.
yeah.
So that's an actual title of the game.
Have you tried
And
it?
I haven't played it, so I can't talk about it.
I've heard it described, and I get the feeling it's only 2 steps up from Candyland.
Oh, okay.
Basically, it's some kind of merry-go-round management system, and it's basically pretty random. So, I mean, you can check it out, but I'm not sure it falls into the category of some of the other
I
games
got to
talked
say,
about.
playing with my 9-year-old, he loves playing the real Carcassonne
Yeah.
because it's a,
Oh,
quote,
yeah.
real game.
Yeah, Carcassonne's a
And I
solid
just
game.
handicapped myself by a couple
The
people.
only problem with Carcassonne I've found is my kids have a hard time with the farmer
Yeah, I wouldn't do the
mechanic.
farmer.
You either got to turn it off or really because they just can't get their head. They can't crock the farmer scoring system in the game. That's the problem I've had with it.
Yeah.
I don't know if yours is 9, so maybe nine's a magic number for Carcassonne.
Maybe
I don't know.
9 get clicks. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Feed the Kitty, which is a good age 3 game. You roll these dice and you have these little mice and you put them into little buckets, and Emmy loves that game. Another game called Hey, That's My Fish. Good with the 6, 7, 8 crowd. And not good with 3 because she wants to play 2, and it's a tile game. And the game is simple, but you can't manipulate the tiles, and the board gets wrecked.
Right.
The board is made out of tiles. So, Descent, you've heard me talk about that. I think that's a great game, modified age 8 and up. Ticket to Ride is another family favorite. Again, our 3-year-old does not play Ticket to Ride.
No,
We
that
give her
is-
some trains to play with.
That is good
Memoir
for kids,
44,
though.
another good one, I think, for age 8 and up. Kinder Bunnies.
Kinder.
I say Kinder.
Yeah, you say it wrong.
I don't. Craig will rule on it. Craig?
Kinder bunnies.
Okay. So that's a huge fun, and that's a game that the kids all play by themselves, which is kind of fun. Battle Chaos, you've heard me mention that before. Wings of War, and strangely, I did a test case with Lou where I wanted to see how the character creation worked for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. So we built the character. He loved that. And then we did this little thing where he rescued somebody from the coachman, and oh my gosh, he had a blast. He's been bugging me to play that like every day.
Cool.
The only problem is I haven't is because the coachman was like stealing the princess kind of deal, and the rules in the module say you knock the coachman down, you wound him, and you're supposed to question him. And he's like, well, can I kill the coachman? And I'm like, well, it is a role-playing game. He's like, okay, I kill him. And I was like, oh, man, I don't want to be a bad parent and draw up, murdering tendencies.
Any more than you already are.
Yeah, any more than I already
Right.
are. But what's interesting was I talked to another person I know who actually runs kids games 12 and up or 12 and under, at Gen Con. And he said he had the same similar thing. And he's like, well, was the coachman a bad guy? And I was like, yes. And I was like, okay, that makes me feel a little better,
We'll just role play the consequences. That'll solve that problem.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Okay, now you're going to spend the next 8 sessions in jail.
right. To solve that. How you like that, Lou? All right, next game.
So those are my picks.
All right, cool. I think that's it. Any other things you want to talk about for the games?
Nope.
No, I think you could
Cool.
summarize.
Think so? Okay, well, I could do just one thing I wanted to say was really that I think my kids have gotten to the age now where they're really getting into games that I can enjoy with them also. I've enjoyed a lot of them with their younger ages, but now as they're getting older, they're really getting into the strategies of them. And I think it's really quality family fun time. I think what I've noticed too is kids love to plot against their parents.
Yes.
They love being in an environment where it's totally
Yeah, they do
loud.
like that.
And Rose and Kit will totally work against me in any game I'm playing, and they have a blast with it. And I just think it's fun to watch them scheme and smile and whisper each other when they think you can't hear you, which of course you can. It's just really funny. And these games really, they overflow with education, and the kids don't even realize they're learning stuff.
No.
There's tons of counting in this stuff. I mean, even think about like Kit. She's 6, and she's trying to figure out what number she needs on her little track to score in Sorry Sliders, and that's tricky stuff. You got to use math. You've got to figure out spatial relationships. You're thinking ahead. You're problem solving. You're testing your memory with a lot of these games. Manual dexterity is important for young kids, so there's a lot of these dexterity games are great. And it's just really, and even themed topics. Like I've noticed, like was like, Dad, what's the deal with pirates? Why are there pirates? And so we learn about pirates. We go online, look pirates up together. Why do penguins sit on eggs? We can look that up too. Why are there ruins in the jungles? Well, let's talk about the Mayans. You can just kind of use this stuff to springboard to other little educational topics. So it's
and actually,
really kind of a fun way.
the Haba games, the rules actually had little educational blurbs in them.
Yeah, so that's a really great way to get your kids interested in other things and expose them to other themes they may not otherwise get.
I know
in a fun
we're
way.
preaching to the choir, but I wish we could somehow get the word out. Like, because I have lots of parents here that have kids, and they don't want to play Sorry Sliders necessarily. They're not gamers, but they see these different games that I have. They're like, oh, that's cool. Like, where do you get that? And I think other families would have a blast playing these games you just went through.
Well, I do too.
Non-gamer families, I mean.
And what's even funny, because I remember one of the reasons I probably am a gamer is my grandparents, whenever we go to their house, you go down in the basement, and they had this wall of shelves that were just full of games, like I don't know. It felt like to me it was like the original Monopoly with all wooden pieces, and the original Risk, and like Mousetrap and Kerplunk, and just wall of games.
Yeah.
I thought that was crazy cool when I was a kid. I was like, wow. And so when I get these games now, I kind of think, wouldn't it be cool to have this little boat puffing game for if I'm blessed to ever have grandchildren, to have them come and see this really wonderful game, and then Rose and Kit remember when they were kids, and now their kids are seeing it. And so I really it's fun for me as a parent to share what I love to do with my kids, but then also to build a little collection that I know maybe someday, kind of like heirloom quality games, if you will. These are games that are really, really good. They'll last a long time, and they'll always be special for your kids when they break them out, just because they're so unique and so different and so fun to play.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to close the segment with a quote.
You are such a Will Wheaton fanboy now.
I am. Well, this is it was something inspired me, and it's inspiring me to teach my kids more about games too, and just something Will said at PAX really hit me really strongly, and I wanted to say this real quick. He said, "Excuse me, me just want to clear my throat.
Get into character."
Right. When you play a game, any game, you're using your imagination to bring a world to life, and that's truly special because while all destruction is essentially the same, when you create something, it's different every single time. When you create something together, you're building bonds with your fellow gamers that could last you an entire lives." The Venn diagram of my best friends, my gaming group, and the people from high school I still hang out with is one perfect circle. I suspect for many gamers of my generation that's equally true. And when I know that my kids will be saying the same thing in 20 years. So, and I really felt that's really strong. My friends are my best are gamers from my childhood and from my high school days too. And I just think it's awesome to be able to share that with my kids, and hopefully they'll get a lot of
What
this.
about
and learn.
me? I'm not from your childhood.
No, you're just some guy I met.
Well, Russ's starting point is this circle, and then it expands out to include people like you.
Oh, so I'm in the Venn diagram.
You are in the Venn diagram. You're
in
a
the
bigger
expanded
part.
version.
Right. You're in the expanded person. People I have to play
that's
games
a great
with.
quote.
They showed up. That's that circle.
Despite breaking gentlemen's agreements.
Right.
Despite shenanigans.
Despite shenanigans.
Hey, I conceded the second point.
You did.
And I lost on the first.
You
so.
barely conceded the second point. All right. Any other comments on kids?
No, I'm just very excited.
Me too.
4 to 5 years from now, baby.
You're ready.
That's right.
No one could have believed, in the first years of the 21st century, that gaming podcasts would spread across the planet like a strange red Martian weed. Striding among them, like a huge alien tripod, walked the D6 generation. The astronomer Ogilvy assured me that the chances of anything good coming out of New Hampshire were 1,000,000 to 1. But still, they came. The D6 generation. The greatest gaming podcast on this or any other planet. And the only one to feature words from Wales. I looked up, straight into the eyes of my beloved Carrie.
TheWarStore.com, bringing war to your door since 1999. The War Store offers the best prices on the net and features such products as Games Workshop, Privateer Press, Sable Designs, Flames of War, and many, many more. Order at TheWarStore.com, that's TheWarStore.com, or call 631-765-0047. That's 631-765-0047. TheWarStore.com.
I'm Raef, Hollywood Granger, and this is the Hollywood Minute. Brought to you today by Nash in Australia. Hey all, make sure you come find me on Twitter and support my painting and modeling antics. I need all the support I can get finishing my latest army. Find me on http://twitter.com/Nash_in_Aus. Thanks, Aus. So today's topic is pets. As you will see, I am fascinated this week by pets. I am wondering if people's tunes in MMOs are rising to the level of pets. I heard in Japan, for example, that kids have cyber pets. They turn on their computer and feed their pet in the morning. They play with their pet. After school, they take care of their pet, all on the computer. So, for example, do people love their tunes as much as a pet? I think they do. I'm wondering if I do. It struck me with the TFG's last interview. If Cryptic or Blizzard or Turbine turned off their game and zap, all tunes were destroyed, many people would be devastated. I am wondering if one can love a tune as much as a live pet. Scott Johnson on the Instance has been known to state he loves Henry as if it were a real pet. Henry is his tune's pet. Or, in other words, can a tune be equal to a live pet? Let's examine some of the similarities in a philosophical examination. Number 1, you spend time with your tune. Number 2, you feed your tune food and drink. Number 3, your tune can die. Think Turbine turns off Stony. Number 4, you play with your tune. Number 5, your tune brings you joy to have and play with. Number 6, your tune ages and levels. Now, let's look at some of the differences. Number 1, your tune is not alive. This may be arguable under some really tight philosophical examinations I hope to get to. Number 2, a live pet is a separate living entity. It has its own actions that interact with you separate from you. A tune is only an extension of ourselves. Number 3, a live pet creates waste. Think poop. That's what comes to mind for differences anyway. But let's have some fun with those differences. Let's examine them under a philosophical microscope. Let's look at a separate living entity. Somehow when I examine my thoughts on this, Stony is different than me. I'm not sure why exactly, but I don't feel like I'm just playing myself in the game. I feel as if I'm playing with Stony. He has his own friends in the game. He has Pettywing, Boffer, Sindrian, and Dolph, to name a few. He goes on his own adventures. These are certainly not adventures that Raef goes on. Raef doesn't kill orcs in Moria. Stony has his own voice, literally makes his own different sounds in the game. He has his own unique set of skills different from Raef. He is a different race. He has different clothes. And he has his own personality. He is bullish, physically strong, and does not talk much. That's different than Raef. Here's an interesting thought. What if a computer had watched Stony for 65 levels, learned all of his abilities, learned all his skill, and learned his personality, i.e. how he would react in certain situations? And then Raef logged into Latra as his own avatar of himself, and the computer played Stony. Is Stony separate now, as operated by a computer? I think all of us geeks agree that Data, a computer on Star Trek Next Generation, is not just a computer, but a self-aware, separate individual. So I think that is how we MMO players think of our toons, as separate. That even though we are controlling the mouse, we are somehow not just Stoney's puppet master, but Stoney's hands for the purpose, or Stoney's computer for the purpose of living in his worlds. We are merely his computer to let him act in the way he wants to act. Let's look at a different distinction. A live pet takes in food and lets out waste, and if he does not, he will die. Now, this is a stretch, I know. Your character takes in items until his bags are full, and if he doesn't empty his bags, he will not level. I know, I'm taking some very big liberties here, but on some sort of basic level, I think Stoney creates waste and all that vendor trash, we even call it waste, vendor trash that he has to sell to empty his bags in order he can level. It's a stretch, but it is some kind of similarity. And the hardest one to examine is Stoney alive? Now, of course, at first blush, we would all say he's not, and you would think I'm crazy if I argue with that he is, but any of you that have taken a philosophical course knows that you can do some very interesting things to, where there's proof of like, well, am I alive? Well, I know I'm alive because I'm breathing, and then there's ways to examine that. And that we'll have to examine the different arguments that some of the greatest philosophers have examined in the philosophical ramblings of the next Hollywood Minute. And remember, you can follow me at my blog, jimmyjango.com, or on Twitter at the D6G Hollywood, or let me know what you think at my email, hollywood@the d6generation.com. Well, that's my story.
You're listening to the D6 Generation. Born to Game.
Need to add a big unit to your current force and don't feel like painting that many grunts? Or maybe you want to start a new army and really don't have time to paint it up. That's where PaintedFigs.com can help. For over 4 years, their staff with over 20 years of experience in the industry have been providing gamers with high-quality, affordable paint jobs on miniatures for their most popular games, including Flames of War, Warhammer 40,000, Fantasy, War Machine, Hordes, and even a variety of board game pieces. Their full-service packages include the cost of the models themselves at wholesale prices, assembling, painting, and basing. And they now offer a super affordable dipping service starting as low as 99 cents per figure. Because they are able to get the models wholesale, you end up with a package appearing on your doorstep full of ready-to-play models at only a fraction over the retail price. That's why PaintedFigs.com is the official painting service of the D6 generation. Their name says what they do. PaintedFigs.com. High-quality miniature painting at the lowest rates on Earth. Even with shipping. Be sure to let them know the D6 generation sent you.
This is Total Fangirl. Regular Jane most days, total fangirl when the moment strikes. Han shot first. Starbuck is a guy. And Lestat, now there's a vampire. Hey everyone, this is Nicole, your Total Fangirl. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicole Wakelin or check out my blog, www.totalfangirl.com. This week's shout-out is another shout-out from Ilan to the Meeple Mart gang. Tim, my nemesis, our fleets will meet again. Hey everyone, so I have a really interesting guest with me today, somebody that I wouldn't have necessarily expected to be talking to about games. I have Eric Bloom, who is the lead singer for the Blue Oyster Cult. Welcome, Eric.
How you doing out there?
So, Eric,
how's everybody in cyberspace today?
I know I'm doing great. So, Eric, I was ridiculously surprised to find out that you really are a gamer.
That is very true.
And that does not fit in my head with the sex, drugs, and rock and roll lifestyle that I imagine for a rock and roller. But you've been playing games. Now, is this a new thing, or have you been a gamer like forever?
Oh no, forever. Yeah.
So, what did you?
Going back, pre-video games, to pinball, I guess you would say I probably started with.
Pinball. So that is classic. So what was the first, did you have an Atari or something like that? What's the first real, video game thing that you can remember?
Oh, home video games would start with Pong.
Pong. Oh, I had Pong. I loved that game.
Yeah. Pong, and then, let's see, I had, my favorite is Intellivision.
Yeah? Wow.
But I think that was my favorite because there were several games on there that were awesome. But I also had PS1, PS2. I had name a platform. My Genesis. I had everything.
So you had them all. Now, what do you play on right now? What's your console of the moment?
I have PS3.
PS3. Okay, so you're PS3 guy.
But I'm playing mostly when I play online. I'm using a PC.
Okay, so you're PC games online. Now, what for online? Are you a WoW player?
I played WoW for 3.5 years, and I've been out of it for about 1.5 years or 2.
You gave it up. Did you have to go through a 10-step program for that? Nobody gives up WoW.
No, actually, I honestly, I got bored with it.
You did?
Yeah, I just nothing against the game because I think it's a fabulous game.
Right.
But just I was dabbling with other things because I write for a Massive Online Gamer magazine.
Okay.
And I think I got in the beta of Age of Conan. I really liked it. So it was just something different.
Yeah.
I'd gone to one too many raids, I guess.
And you were done.
Also, the downside of the gaming is not necessarily the game's fault. Especially in WoW's case.
Right.
When you're in a 40-person raid or a 26-person raid, and all right, the raid tonight is at 8 p.m. Eastern, and where's so and so? Oh, well, he's here to finish his homework. Oh, well, we gotta wait for him. He's the only one who knows how to do the backside of the cave.
Right.
Whatever it is. So all of a sudden the 8 o'clock raid is starting at 9:15, and stuff like that was just getting old.
Gets tiring. Yep. So do you play any? Is it just the Conan game that you're playing, or is there an MMO that you're really into at the moment right now?
Currently, I'm playing Star Trek Online.
Star Trek Online. Are you still liking it? Are you still having fun with it? Because it's been a couple months.
I'm still liking it, but the quests are getting a little repetitive.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to get to end game and see what that's like, which won't be from now.
Yeah. How about what are you looking forward to? I know there's a couple I'm looking forward to. What is there one that you really can't wait to come out? A new MMO?
Well, everyone I normally play with are all waiting for the Old Republic game next year.
Oh, me too. I can't wait for that, and it's so far away, though.
But yeah, it just got pushed back again. I understand.
See, I want to play that one.
Yeah, but I don't mind it being pushed back as long as it's good.
Now, do you sometimes, because with the writing you do, you get some beta keys for things? You think you get a beta? Will you get to play that one before all the rest of us? Are you going to try?
I do get in a lot of betas. I'm currently in the beta of. I used to play scrolling text games.
Yeah.
Going back before. Yeah, my first graphic game was Galaxies.
Okay.
And I played Galaxies before I played WoW, and then played that for probably about 1.5 years. But before that, in the late 80s, early 90s, I was in scrolling text games called Gemstone.
Okay.
Gemstone is a scrolling text adventure game, I guess you would say, but a role-playing game.
Right.
And it's still going strong. It's run by a company called Simutronics.
Yeah.
And I went to several of their conventions, and I have still a lot of friends over there, both on the administrative side and and players. I'm still friendly with a lot of people I used to play with.
Yeah. Excellent.
I played Gemstone 3 and Gemstone 4.
What about, are you excited about StarCraft 2 at all, or does that one not float your boat?
I'm in the beta.
You are in the beta. Oh, you lucky dog. I tried. I did not get into the beta. Can you say if you like it, or do they sue you if you say anything? Can you say anything?
Well, no, I can just say that it's kind of fun, and it's very faithful to the original.
Yeah. So you're enjoying it.
Excuse me?
So you're enjoying it. So far, so good.
I am. I'm enjoying. I always like the Terran side.
Yeah. Now I'm going to ask you about a different.
But I'm playing. They have it so you can PvP.
Yeah.
They also have it set up so you can set up your own little game against the AI, and except the only problem with playing against the computer is they have only very easy mode. That's the only mode available right now.
Oh, because it's a beta, so they haven't. Gotcha.
And you could just kick its ass very easily. But what it does is it allows you to try out Protoss or Zerg or Terran, and without any other person being there, so you get to test out different strategies and different things and different builds.
Yeah. So that'll change. I'm assuming, are they going to release more bits and pieces? I would hope, so you get to play something a little tougher as the beta goes on.
But you can play against other people.
You can.
In the beta, definitely. And they give you 5 sort of trial matches that you could just sign up for, and it happens pretty quickly. Somebody jumps in, and I got my head handed to me so fast. I just started, I started playing just against the AI just to get used to it. I haven't played StarCraft in so long.
Yeah.
But I forgot how everything worked.
Right.
So I'm getting myself familiar with it again.
Very good. Now I'm going to ask you about a game.
I love all the Blizzard games.
You do.
I played Diablo 2. I played all the add-ons. I played the original Warcraft games, 1, 2, and 3, which are, I guess, strategy games, I guess. And I like all that, sending your little guys out and building the fort and all that kind of stuff.
So you're totally into it. Well, there's one kind of game that I wanted to ask you about now, being that you are, kind of sort of a rock star. I think you would qualify. And Rock Band and Guitar Hero. You even got songs on there, and every time Reaper comes on, it totally kicks my butt and makes me fail. Have you ever played your own songs, or even played Rock Band or Guitar Hero?
I played it, but not in seriousness. I've been interviewed like on video interviews.
Yeah.
And where they say, "Oh, we have your song up here. Would you like to try it?" So I'll just sort of fumble through it on easy.
You should not be fumbling through. It's your song. You should nail it on expert.
Well, yeah, except if it was really guitar playing would be one thing.
Yeah.
But pushing buttons is something else. I have a funny anecdote about that. Our one of our guitar players, Richie Castellano, he teaches guitar. Mm-hmm. So he had a student come in and he wanted to learn some AC/DC song or something. So he showed him how to play it, and he says, "Okay, come back next week and let's see how you're doing with it."
Right.
So the kid comes back and he obviously didn't practice. And he says, "What's wrong? How come you didn't work on this?" He says, "Well, I got it nailed on Guitar Hero."
Oh, nice.
And he felt like smacking him. He says, "What good is that?"
Now, does that drive you guys nuts? I mean, from a musician's point of view, you see things where people who are musicians say that they really aren't a fan of the Rock Band thing because people think they're playing the guitar like that, but they aren't. Do you think it's bad for music as a whole, or do you think it's a good thing?
I think it's a good thing because it exposes people. First of all, it's been a great thing for us, royalty-wise.
Oh, I bet.
But on the other hand, maybe exposes kids who never would pick up an instrument, maybe got them interested in playing.
Yeah. That's what I sort of thought, but you see a lot of you do see a lot of things, read things, and hear people where they're just these guys think they're playing guitar, and I think despite that student, I think most of us realize we're just really pushing color buttons on a plastic controller.
Well, that's you're playing a game, and it's obviously you're not really playing an instrument. And there's nothing wrong with playing the game. Maybe it's good hand-and-eye coordination, or maybe one cool thing I think about it is it exposes people to bands maybe they never heard of before.
Right.
And that's a cool thing.
Yeah, I find that when I go through, like we're looking, they have so many new songs that come out for Rock Band all the time that we'll go through and there's songs that I love that my husband's never heard of and vice versa. So suddenly I'm getting exposed to music I probably would never have listened to if not for the fact that it was on that Rock Band list.
Yeah, I think we have, Burning for You is coming out this year for
is it?
Rock Band.
Ooh, nice. Yeah. But see, your songs are so good, but they totally slay me on Rock Band. So that's like, I play 10 songs in a set, and that's the last one. It's like, well, now we're done. I can just turn it off because I'm never going to get through that one.
I really don't have any perspective on that.
They're tough. Let me put it that way. They're tough.
Okay.
Now, you also talk about writing songs in games. I found this just recently, and I didn't know this. You wrote a song for the Warhammer Fantasy Online game called Kiss My Axe While I Drink My Beer.
Yes, I did.
How on earth did that happen?
that was because I was playing Warhammer, and which is a great game, by the way.
Were you playing the online one or the actual with the minis? Table? Oh, excellent.
I was playing the Warhammer Online.
Okay.
And which is a PC game.
Right.
And during the course of, I can't remember how it happened, their PR people got in touch with me or something, or that's how I got the account in the first place. Mm-hmm. And I reached out to them because I can't really remember. I was playing the game and they were announcing the 2 new characters were coming out, and one of them was Slayer. So I think I reached out to them through their PR people to come down to the home office and take a tour. And they're in Virginia.
Okay.
So I contacted Richie, who I was just telling you about, the guitar player in our band.
Right.
He's also a gamer, and we play games together.
Oh, cool.
And he and I flew down, and they put us up, and then we took a whole tour of the studio. And then the next day, Richie had some music in his head, and I had some in mine, and we sat down, and one of the people who works for Warhammer wrote some lyrics. They already had sort of a garage band of developers, and that's how it happened. I heard they had written some other music before that, and I said, how about me coming down there and working with your garage band? So that's what we did, and we put together this "Kiss My Ex" song as the sort of intro music to the new Slayer character.
Well, I can tell you, I listened to it online a little while ago, and I kind of snorted my coffee. It's really funny. I really like listening to it. It was a neat little song. I think it's going to end up somewhere.
It is funny.
It's going to end up on this podcast. So
the Warhammer people are great people, and it's a really good game.
Very good. Now, would you do something like that again? Like if there was another game that you just really were like, okay, I love this game, like Star Wars Galaxies. What if they said, hey, you want to write a song for that? Would you be up for that? Would you do it again?
Completely open to that. As a matter of fact, Eric at ericbloom.net. Get in touch.
There you go. So see somebody else. You can get Eric to work on a song for one of your cool games. Well, thank you, Eric, so much.
I'm working with there's a new game coming out called Heroes of Talara.
Okay.
And that name might change, but I might be in touch with them about possibly doing some music in the future. And so my connection through Massive Online Gamer has been great for me. I write occasional articles for them.
Okay.
And my great friend Doug Kale, who is the editor of Massive Online Gamer, we met, I would say, it has to be about 20 years ago, because we were both in the baseball card business at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a whole other interview for another.
I was going to say another thing, yeah. Oh, my goodness. Well, Eric, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me, and I look forward to seeing your music pop up in a game somewhere some other time.
Sure thing. And anybody out there, if you want to see some good classic rock, come see BOC anytime.
Excellent. Thanks, Eric.
Bye.
Hi, this is Elon, or Squid Eye, from Toronto. I sent this in over voicemail a while ago, but it apparently got lost in the system, and Russ suggested on Twitter that I resend it. This is actually a response to whenever Craig starts singing a little ditty about why there's so many games about farming. It begged to be completed, so here's the rest of it. Why are there so many games about farming, and what's growing in your field? It's anti-thematic, and I have no interest. Do they think that I will yield? Accumulation with no confrontation simply does nothing for me. Maybe we'll find it, the agri connection, the gamers, the farmers, and me. Who said that every game needs lasers and pirates to hold my attention right? But all that this game does is make you build fences, and that makes me feel so trapped. Raef likes it too much for me to ignore it. Must I attempt it and see if maybe some kind of an agri connection can be reached between Raef and me. So many meeples to feed our wooden cylindrical families. I'm finding synergies and new interactions with minor improvements and jobs. Next time I'll crush them with dozens of VPs, those shiftless agrarian slobs. After 3 plays I have grown to adore it. This game might be just right for me. Now I don't mind it, the agri connection has opened my eyes and I see. Wa-da-da-dee-da-da-doo, da-da-dee-da-da-dee-da-doo.
Hey, I'm Luke.
And I'm JJ.
And we're the guys from World's End Radio. When we're not playing games,
or lying to our wives about it,
then we're going to the ends of the earth to bring you the latest content on all aspects of the Games Workshop hobby.
And a few other worlds besides.
So come find us at www.worldsendradio.com.
Or subscribe to the show through iTunes.
Greetings from Myriad Games, your friendly professional game store. We offer a wide variety of family fun for everyone. With our Anytime Open Play program, you can try out hundreds of different games from our massive game library right here in store. And coming this year, our new Game Share program, which works a lot like Netflix, but for all your favorite unplugged games. Our MVPs will have an opportunity to participate in an alpha test of Game Share. So if you're interested in trying it out, sign up today. We've expanded our MVP program, offering steel, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and titanium MVP memberships. MVPs receive a wide variety of benefits, including bonus Myriad money, access to our new achievements program, complimentary open play passes, free shipping, and much more. The higher your level, the more bonuses you'll receive. For more details, visit myriadgames.com/MVP. Thanks for shopping Myriad Games, your friendly professional game store.
Welcome to Northern New England School of Arts and Engineering, located in sunny downtown Quinton, New Hampshire. I'm Peter Lipton, and this is being taped in front of our students of MFAs, EEs, and PCHs.
Wow, they're applauding themselves, Peter.
Yeah. Yes, they are, Craig. And as Craig is here, you all know this group, and I'm proud to announce and welcome back to the podcaster studio, the D6 generation.
Thank you.
You're too kind, really.
Yeah, thanks, Peter.
Thank you a whole bunch. Thank you a whole bunch.
Thank you for having us, Peter. I can't believe we're back doing this again. It feels like only yesterday.
It's sort of a dream.
I'm glad to be back. I'm a little nervous, Peter, I got to tell you. Well, gentlemen, I am beaming with pleasure to have you all back in the studio.
I need to get my sunglasses.
Yeah.
Let's review where Raef Granger, Craig Gallant, and Russ Wakeland have been since the last time we visited. We've had now complete 2 years of podcasting episodes.
And then some.
Still going strong. We've had many conferences attended. We've had Gen Cons, Temple Cons, Patty Cons. I mean, quite a list of achievements. No real awards won yet, but I think there's one soon out there. Russ, let's start today, and our students are eager to hear. Let's start with you, shall we?
Sure, Peter.
All right. As master editor and sound engineer, tell us, and let our students learn from you. What is the editing process like?
Long and arduous. Not really, actually. Actually, a surprising amount of our show is actually done in one take, believe it or not. So really what we do is we just each segment's laid down separately, not necessarily in the order you hear it. And then I'll go back through and I will simply correct anything. And the biggest part of the editing job is laying all the tracks in the right order and doing the blending between tracks and leveling the sound and making sure everything sounds okay, especially when there's a guest on.
And occasionally when Russ's alter ego, Kid Russ, takes over, we do have to go back in there and excise out some swears.
Right. Once in a while, swears will show up
from
in
Russ
the show.
or
from
guests.
Me,
It's
or
either
guests.
from Russ or guests.
And
you wouldn't believe it. No one who knows Russ would believe it, but that's what actually happens.
Once in a while, but yeah, that happens too. But mostly the editing is going in post production and adding things or linking everything together.
Do you find the task of editing arduous or creative, or what's the artistic part like?
It's funny, actually. It's funny. I hate. It feels like a job before I start. Like the day before I'm going to do it or whatever, I sit down.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
it takes about 3 to 4 hours to fully put a show together.
Yeah.
From the moment I sit down to the moment I get it published and on the website and done. So it feels like, oh God, I got to do this for 4 hours. But once I start, I actually really enjoy it. I enjoy the creative process. You know, it's like anything. It's like painting a model or building something. I get the feeling, we're putting it, and I start to feel the show coming together, feeling it gel. And a lot of times, even when we record a segment, we're not really sure how it's going to sound when it's all done, or if it's going to link up well, or if the whole show is going to have continuity. And I'm always surprised at the end that the show even sounds remotely listenable, or anything. So it's great, and it's fun. It's fun also to get. Another thing I do is some of the segments we get submitted from our regular folks, I don't listen to the segments in their entirety. I usually just listen to the very beginning and the very end and link them in so that I can enjoy them for the first time when I actually hear the show fully put together at the end. Because I do listen to the whole show after I publish it to make sure, A, it sounds good in continuity, and B, just to really kind of try to listen to it from the experience of the listener and listen for anything that maybe we goofed up or should try to do differently next time. And also, but it's fun to have, I won't listen to Raef's Hollywood Minute fully. I'll just listen to the very beginning and the very end, blend it, put it in the show, and then I'll listen to the first time in the show, and I'll hear, do you ever notice for the first time in the show? And if Owen or Ken contribute something, I'll have that for the full time in its entirety in the show.
Yeah.
Although I shouldn't tell them that now, because then they'll probably slip in some little swear word in the middle. So none of that.
Bad.
No, I won't be doing that. No, it's funny you should say that, Russ, because it kind of reminds me of when I went to Hollywood and I saw the set for Desperate Housewives. And it's just this bland, bunch of houses that don't look really that good and doesn't look like Wisteria Lane at all. But then when you see the gloss of the camera and whatever they do for lighting and they put it all together, that's what it feels like when we record these. It's out of segment. It's just sort of flat talking. And I really notice the editing when you do it, actually.
Well, one of the big challenges to editing, too, is the leveling of the show. Because when we're recording, we have leveling challenges because Raef's always remote. So that's part of the challenge. And then when there's a guest on, the guest's usually on a phone or some not as quality microphone as we have. So they sound different, either too quiet or too loud. And so there's a lot of post-production work to get that level as possible. Because I know I hate when I'm listening to some other podcasts and having to change the volume in the middle of the episode. And it still happens sometimes when the ads come in or something, or a loud music segment. But I try to keep that as to a minimum as I can, because I do hate that myself when I'm listening to a show and all of a sudden, it's kind of like you're watching TV and all of a sudden the commercial comes on and it's like 12 decibels higher than the...
Yeah, so if they do it on TV, we can get away with it every now and then. But that is definitely one of the biggest problems with other podcasts, that audio quality, that it sounds like they're all remote and they're all using cheap mics, but they're all in the same room.
Right.
Whereas we have Raef, who's 40 miles away, and it sounds like we're all, when you listen to the podcast, or at least to me anyway, it really does sound like we're all in an actual sound booth, as opposed to in this little corner of the Wakeland compound versus 40 miles away on the seacoast.
Right.
And that just doesn't just happen.
Exquisite.
Do you see that, students? Do you see that the art is just not in the performance only? There's yes. And there should be applause. Because it's the whole product taken together. Craig?
Yes, sir.
you are often hailed as Master Terraformer and Master of Voices.
Okay.
You have been known to build an entire Western village in miniature, known as... What was the name of that Gutshot village again?
Brimstone.
Brimstone. And then again, there's the complete Hearst Arts terrain board, all of its miniatures, all of the dungeon tiles. 2 complete Sea of Blood ships are on your terrain resume. Minus Tiroth towers. A wonderful spiral tower with a wooden bridge. Some actual trains.
He's been your whole collection.
Yep.
With the advance of your little one. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much.
What's next?
Oh, thank you, students. Thank you.
What's next?
Well, guys, okay. Well, thank you. What's next on my terrain slate?
Yes.
Well, I'm going to try to put together some more things for my 6mm stuff for my Epic, because I have enough to do a really nice board already, but I'd like to. I have a couple more ideas, and that's where my muse has been moving me for about 2 weeks now, 2 or 3 weeks now, has been towards my Epic stuff. Try to finish up some of that. I'm actually really looking forward to Battles of Westeros.
Oh, me too.
Yeah,
Me too.
I really want to get those models, and I don't know if I'm going to go so far as to make the 3D boards that you see people have made for
Battlelore.
Battlelore.
They are cool, though.
But they are cool.
Yeah.
And why do you do what you do? Share the pleasure with our students you find in the fruits of your labor, of your terrain labor.
Well, Peter, have you ever read the book by Stephen King, The Tommyknockers?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I have.
I think that's what's happened. I think there's an alien spaceship that crashed in my basement, and they're communicating with me telepathically, making me make terrain for reasons I don't understand.
It's kind of like in the Close Encounters when he built that little Devil Mountain
Exactly.
thing.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
I
Do you
don't
see
know.
that, students? Do you see the humor mixed with the passion? That's
They applaud a lot, but they don't laugh a lot.
No, the applause is killing me. Thank
Your
you.
kids
Thank
are
you.
taking us way too seriously.
They really are. Thank you very much.
And as master of voices and characters,
Yeah, I don't
we
know
have
about
Geekly
that.
McNerdigan, and we have the Grumpy Gamer, and we have Do You Ever Notice? Share with our students, how do you come up with these pieces of art?
Well, first of all, the Grumpy Gamer and Did You Ever Notice were the Grumpy Gamer was the Did You Ever Notice earlier, and then I just kind of stopped doing that, and it's pretty much my own voice now, in case you
But
hadn't
it's
noticed.
almost spawned, you have Craig's voice, and correct me if I'm wrong, of Do You Ever Notice, and then there's the Grumpy Gamer.
There is the occasional Grumpy Gamer does slip in there occasionally, yes. But yeah, as far as rapid fire goes, Geekly McNerdigan is definitely a McLaughlin rip-off or homage. Let's go with homage.
Right.
Let's go with homage. Parody.
Parody protects us legally.
Exactly. Oh, it's a parody. Anything we do for parody, it's
yes,
a parody.
I should say that. I can definitely contest to that, or
Yeah.
attest to that, yes.
Yeah. So that's where those voices came
And the Grumpy
up.
Gamer was
Well, the
originally
Grumpy
inspired
Gamer
by
was
Andy Rooney, right?
Andy Rooney.
That was sort of
yeah.
the idea.
Because
But
actually,
how do you, each 2 weeks, you come up with your priceless works of art? Where do you get your inspiration from?
I don't know. It beats the heck out
He's getting all
of me.
bashful now.
Well, I wish I did more Andy Rooney stuff, but the Andy Rooney stuff, when I do it, really sounds like Jerry Seinfeld, so I
Right.
stopped.
Hey guys,
Because he really does. Did you ever
notice?
notice?
Yeah.
And, but yeah, I mean, I have to wait until, for rapid fire, I have to wait until we know what the show's going to cover, and then I try to make it, as we've said before, it's sort of like a tongue-in-cheek table of contents. And it sort of addresses things that are going to happen over the course of the show, hopefully. Sometimes it doesn't. Quite often, if you hear something in rapid fire and then nothing connects with that, it means we changed plans somewhere
Right.
along the way. And often, actually, you'll see something will be addressed in rapid fire, and then it will be it'll actually show up in the next episode.
Right.
That's because sometimes our segments, we have to shift them around at the last minute because, well, for a variety of reasons.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, Russ, Hey, Peter, I'm starting to feel a little left out here. Don't worry. We'll get to you.
It's almost...
More Raef! We want to hear more Raef!
We'll get to you, HD. Don't you worry.
Peter, I'm getting
Now,
a little
Russ-
concerned. It's kind of like your audience is being controlled by some malevolent force.
I know. Russ, you've known to be...
Busted!
You've known to be an apple turnover, an appleophobe.
An apple turnover?
Some
What?
may even call you an apple hater.
I prefer cobbler.
And
Hater.
Comet Magazine has it reported that total fangirl herself and you are now iPhone owners. Why the sudden change?
Well, actually, I don't own an iPhone yet. So the story is I don't hate Apple. I've actually owned the Apple TV for a long time. But they're not my first product of choice. But what happened with the iPhone recently is my office is changing phone policy, and the iPhone is what's being issued now to folks in place of the BlackBerry. And so I'll be getting an iPhone in a while. But as part of that process happened, when we were looking for a new phone for Nicole, we realized that if we stayed with AT&T, then there's all the free minutes back and forth, blah, blah, blah. So we got her an iPhone as well, and she really likes the iPhone. She's really enjoying it a lot. It's a fun thing to play with. My personal choice would have been I probably would have wanted to go with the Droid, but there's nothing wrong with the iPhone. It's a fine piece of equipment. So I'll have an iPhone soon.
Are you looking forward to having it? And as from a technological point of view, being able to own one and fool around with it and see what it can do for you.
I'm excited about parts of it. Like my current phone has a very not so good camera, and the iPhone has a much better camera. So I'm excited to have a phone that can take decent macro pictures, because that will be more fun for our listeners, because I'll be able to tweet things more with better shots of miniatures up close and things like that. So that'll be fun. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm a little nervous about the typing on the keyboard. I'm not sure I'll be able to get the same typing rates I was able to get on my other phones because of the touch screen.
Fat thumb.
So that has me a little nervous. But I've played with Nicole's a little bit. And it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So with practice, maybe I can get back to what I'm able to do. But one of the reasons I like the Droids better is because of the slide-out keyboard, and it's still got the little plastic buttons. So I kind of like that.
Do you see that, students? I tried to trap him there with that question of Apple, but that Russ, he never gives an inch, does he? Never does.
Thank you. You're too kind, really.
Now to you. Peter, before you ask some questions, I've noticed some of your guests, they may smoke cigars or cigarellos or weird, funny hand-rolled cigarettes. May I eat some shelled peanuts and some hot wasabi peas?
Wow, some fans of wasabi peas.
Yes. Yes, Raef, you can eat whatever you want on our stage. That's fine. Oh, thank you, Pierre. I'm eating them right now.
I couldn't tell.
You are often called random or squirrel, or thought of as perhaps not the sharpest tool when it comes to rules. And yet occasionally you surprise your fellow co-hosts, like the revolution in Sri Lanka, or theories of AI and computer logic versus pruning of trees.
Oh my God.
Does all that ribbing get to you? Peter, I'm glad you brought that up. Excuse me while I eat a wasabi pea. You see, actually, it's quite true. I'm not the sharpest tool when it comes to... And I use the word tool on purpose. And it's done on purpose. And Russ and Craig, honestly, they do a lot of the heavy lifting. I don't want to have to think too hard, so I play that part up a lot. And, if you study the great comedians, and my favorites are always Abbott and Costello, it's Bud Abbott that, in my mind, has the tougher role. And he's the straight man. It's easy for me. I get to goof around and be like Lou Costello. That part's easy. But I think it's actually tougher to do Craig and Russ's role of being straighter. And so I think it's fun. I think we, I don't know that we can compare ourselves to the two greatest comedians, that
Definitely
arguably
not.
live.
No.
But they were my heroes. And so I like to think of myself as the fool. And and let Russ and Craig play off of that, and it's fun, and it's fun to banter with them that way. And I think it is the best, though. I do think it's funny when I catch them off guard and I catch them flat-footed with something that really did happen, and they think I'm just going on with a shtick. Well, I just have fun with that. Yes. Do you see that? Do you see that, students? You use what's out there to get the... But seriously, though, on a serious note, I mean, Russ and Craig and I are all good friends, and we go back a long way. I mean, I know they're not going to leave me in the lurch or hanging out. So when you see all that ribbing and stuff, and we've talked about that before, I always know it's in good jest. I never think our friendship's threatened or anything like that. I mean, off the air, we've had some pretty serious arguments, creative arguments about things, but I've never thought for a minute we wouldn't be friends over it. So it's all in good fun.
Except for that shenanigans issue we just had earlier.
Yeah, that did sound like it was going to cause some serious rift.
That's a good example. I don't feel any differently. Do you, Russ?
No, it's just a joke.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just a joke. He keeps going back to over and over.
It's
and
not
over.
I'm going to rub it in for sure. That's that definitely.
Yeah.
That's just a friend thing.
And there's always a little truth in jest. I mean, Russ really thinks it is shenanigans.
No, it's totally shenanigans. It's not even debatable.
And
I can't believe he's blaming you for the fact that he's not finishing his models. That's
total
what I can't.
Mental duress.
That's the part I like the best, Craig.
Yeah.
And you know what? That is an excellent segue to my next question, Craig.
Uh-oh.
What do you think of the repartee of the three of you? What's its magic to you?
Well, its magic to me is that we don't have to plan it. I think that we have heard podcasts out there that have tried to duplicate what we have, and I think what we have is magic, if it's magic at all, because it's just genuine and it's fun. We're not. None of these jokes are written down. None of the ribbing is planned ahead of time. It's just us hanging out, being the way we are. We plan out the content of the show and the games that we want to review and the points that we want to make, and we're very meticulous when we do that. But as far as the dynamic between the three of us goes, that's just the way we are. And actually, if anything, and I think you'd both agree with me, it's kind of toned down on the podcast.
Yes, it is.
Mainly because A, we want to keep that family friendly rating, and B, man, can you only imagine the emails we would get if we said some of the really harsh things we've said about each other.
The things we say we're actually playing games by ourselves to each other.
Yeah. So
That's right.
mean, if there's any magic, it's just that we're lucky enough to have friends. There you go.
And
Peter, I have a question.
Well, yes.
Are your students? Are you like giving them? Are you giving them bonus points per clap, or are they getting paid, or what's going on there with all that applause?
I think they are just
genuinely
ecstatic
appreciative.
and appreciative,
They're ecstatic. Oh.
And I know they're diligently taking notes.
They're also very consistent in their plausibility.
I should say,
yes.
Don't clap, folks. Just write this down. Okay. Well, Russ, is there anything you'd like to add about the repartee amongst you three?
No, I think Craig summed it up pretty well. I think the key to the shows, I think, listenability. Because we get a lot of emails, people saying, I don't even, they're miniature gamers that don't play role playing games, or a role playing gamer that doesn't play miniature games, or whatever, yeah. Or a board gamer who doesn't play either. And they're like, I don't even care about miniature games, but when I listen to you guys talk about them, I kind of enjoy just listening to you talk about them. And I think part of that is just part of it's, the uniqueness of the three of us chatting, but part of it's because I think a lot of people have these same conversations with their friends around their own gaming tables. And so when you can't be with your friends because you're stuck at home painting, or you're mowing your lawn or doing something that's not quite as fun as gaming, you can listen to it and sort of have that sort of feeling of like I'm hanging out with my friends, listening to them rib each other and have a good time and talk about the things they like to do.
And some people's lives have moved them away from that kind of social group that they don't have anymore. True, yeah. And I think we hear a lot from people who are saying, that it's reminding them of their own gaming group. And I think, you know what? I'm going to go and I'm going to say it's not magic. It's just pure luck that you guys out there are I think they're taking notes.
They should be.
That we are appreciated, and so that's neat.
It is. I think that's one of the nicest emails we get. When they're like, "Oh, I feel like I'm home again."
Yeah.
You
got anything to add, Raef?
No, I think just what I said before.
Okay, because I get the feeling every now and then that Peter's just kind of stepping all over your lines, and I want to make sure you get your voice heard.
No, it's just what I said before. I mean, I think you're right. I like what you said, Craig, that it's not really pre-planned out other than the segments we're going to talk about. And yeah, it is even scaled back.
Yeah. I think that's the key, really. That's the takeaway from that question. Is if you could only be a fly on the wall for an actual game where the three of us are playing.
Right. Although I think it's better this way.
Oh, I think it is too.
Yeah. But the other thing I think, and it's kind of a theme of this segment, is that I think Peter's driving at is it's all about the honesty, I think, and that does come through. Well, Russ, we're back to you again.
Yes, Peter.
You are often hailed as the straight talker, the rules guy, the engineer, speaking in such rapid, clipped tones. But recently, there's been a newer side. In What's in the News, there's a Wakeland persona. And most recently, a Jeff Foxworthy impersonation, which I, for one, thought was very good, Russ.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter.
Describe for our students so they can learn. What's it been like to let the more creative side out?
Well, it's fun. I one of the reasons that I don't do any other segments on the show besides the two primary ones, or the three primary ones, I guess, is because the editing is my third segment. Really, it's that that's a big chunk of my time, so I kind of try not to do too much else there. But once in a while, I just like to have fun with the news, and I'm trying to find a balance between keeping the news, but also making it kind of uniquely the D6G fun news and not be totally straight. Because all elements of the show have some kind of humor or tongue-in-cheek sort of aspect to them, while still being informative. I think it's sort of a hallmark of our show, and so I try to do that with the news as well. Just make sometimes it's just stupid, silly, and sometimes it's a little more informed, and sometimes it's inspired. For example, the Jeff Foxworthy Star Wars thing was totally inspired by the listener shout-out that was sent in, and it just clicked as soon as his topic came. I was like, that would be a great Jeff Foxworthy bit. And I happen to know that Jeff Foxworthy is one of the comedians that I can reasonably sound like without sound like a total idiot. So I just thought it'd be kind of fun to try it out. So I wrote the things up and tried it out. But
I thought he did a great job. Students, you think he did a great job? Yeah. Put down those pencils and applaud.
See, students, that's what it's like to test yourself against the art. I just can't believe that I'm sitting just 4 feet from the three of you. It is such an honor.
I can't believe it either, Peter.
I don't believe it.
Now, Craig.
Yes.
What has been your most memorable part of podcasting over the past 2 years?
Most memorable part of podcasting? Yes. I think the most memorable part would be the people, the doors that we've had opened for us and the people that we've met, and the prospect of meeting many more people like them, like the designers and the idea people and the entrepreneurs. And really, I mean, if you think about it, if you look back, we've met some big movers and shakers in the gaming industry, and
that's true.
And I think we have the opportunity to meet a whole bunch more, and I think that's great. And who would have thought that three guys in New Hampshire speaking into little rock band mics would...
next to the door of the Explorer Kitchen.
Next to the door of the Explorer Kitchen.
Right.
That's right.
Would eventually be talking to Matt Wilson or, Corey Kaniska or Ross Watson. I mean, it's really pretty impressive to me anyway that my life now has these moments, these memories in it where I'm sitting across the table from, people who bring an awful lot of enjoyment to millions of people. I think it's really kind of amazing to me sometimes when I think about it.
And Raef, what have been some of your fond memories? Well, Peter, I do want to talk about my memories, but there's something else that I want to talk about that I want to show your students. When they do something in the art field and they want to share something, it can be a little scary. It can be raw. And the fear of exposing oneself on air. I see what you did there, HD. Yes. Yeah, sorry, Peter. I couldn't resist. But in all seriousness, I've always wanted to be real in the Hollywood Minute, and I've decided to share something real with you right now. And it's scary. I want the listening audience to go easy. So go ahead, Raef. We're listening. Well, Peter, my wife and I decided we had to give up my dog, Gertie. And it was hard. And, it's been getting a lot harder to me than I thought. Why, Raef? Go ahead, tell us. Well, the real reason is such a sad one is that, we bit off more than we could chew, frankly. And my wife's reason was more normal. I mean, she'd gone back to work a little bit more, and she was really feeling that it wasn't a lot of quality time with the dog. Mine was sadder, much more selfish than that. It was mainly because I was lazy. It was mainly because after playing Lotro, I just wanted to go to bed and not have to let Gertie out. Or in the morning, I just wanted to go to work and not let her out. Or on the weekends with Breakfast Gaming Club, she would kind of jump on everybody. But now I kind of realize, that feeling of you don't know what you've got till it's gone? I'm kind of bummed out. And I'm thinking it wasn't that hard. But my point, Peter, is just to share with the students that, I had gone into this podcasting thing, and I, other than playing the fool, I also wanted to have honest and unique moments, and I've been wanting to talk about it in a Hollywood Minute, and I've been too frightened to because it almost like it was too personal. But somehow I felt that on the inside the podcaster studio, I don't know, in the comfort of fellow artists and my co-hosts, that that I could kind of share that and let them know that when they're creating their art, whether it be their writing or their drawing or whatever they're doing out there, I want them to know. And I don't know, maybe I can be some sort of lame example and give them the courage to do what they might want to do too. Well, Raef, I thank you for sharing that. Craig?
Yes?
I think we're going to start wrapping up with you.
Okay.
I normally end with famous curse words.
Ah, yes.
But we don't do that. We know that that's not what you do with the D6 generation.
No, it's not the way we roll.
We have some, you may answer in just one-word answers.
Okay.
Craig?
Yes.
Your favorite game you love to hate.
Agricola.
Russ, your favorite game term.
Oh, game term?
Yes.
Can I go with innovative mechanic, or is it too broad?
Raef, is it Hollywood, HD, or Jimmy Django? Why, it's all three, Peter. Craig.
Yes.
Will you ever be asked questions by Geekly McNerdigan?
Probably not. I lack the mental capacity to carry on a conversation with myself. Some people have that.
Some people can do that. I don't know if there's anybody on this show that does it, but some people can do it.
It can be quite a challenge.
I can only imagine.
Raef, is it Agricola or Le Havre? Ah, Peter, you're going to make me choose? Yes, I'm going to make you choose. All right, I choose Agricola.
Ooh.
Russ.
Wow.
If you had to give up 3 board games in your collection right now, what 3 would they be?
Ooh, good question.
That's a tough call.
That's a good question.
Wow. I got to think for a minute here.
You're going to make 3 game companies very angry, or 1. Pick 1. Just upset 1.
Well, let's see here. I have to get rid of... you know what? I almost said Marvel Heroes, but the game's hard to get now. So I like Marvel Heroes, but I haven't played it in a long time, so it's a little too complex. So that might be one.
Okay.
Although it's a good game. And then...
here's a hint. You're not really getting rid of it.
Yeah. I don't know. These are tough.
Take your time.
I like everything I have. I guess... I don't know, because I technically, see, at the moment I'm trying to decide if Rune Wars is in my collection or not. So if Rune Wars makes a jump to my collection, I got to rethink StarCraft.
I was wondering that.
So
I was wondering if you're going to count Rune Wars.
So I'm on the edge. I'm on the edge about that one. So that's a maybe, which is probably cheating, but I'll go with that. And then the third choice...
Shenanigans!
Shenanigans. And then the third choice would be... I'm sure I haven't played in a while. Martian Flux. But I love it. You can't have any, Peter. You can't have any of them. I love them all.
That's well done.
That's
well done.
funny.
And Craig,
yes,
we're going to give you the last question, and you can use a few more words instead of just one for this one.
Okay.
We know you are an avid reader.
Yes.
What were the books you read in high school?
The books I read in high school. I read lots of Dungeons and Dragons adventure books, like the Dragonlance books, which did not age well, I might add.
Yeah, you can't really go back to those books.
No, they're on the pub shelves, but only for nostalgic purposes. I would say the Amber series, which I still love and I think is good, although it does get redundant towards the end.
What did you mean, if I may be so bold as to interrupt you? What did you mean they did not age well? Was it the books themselves fell apart, or over time they're not as good?
Well, a little bit of both, really, Peter. I think that the writing was very, very, very basic, and the plot lines were very potboiler. They were very standard, sort of cookie cutter, and so I think my tastes have evolved and become more demanding over time. And what was really cool Dungeons and Dragons adventures when I was, in high school are now a little too simplistic for me.
Yeah, I know what you mean, actually, on those. I have fond memories of those, but I haven't reread them.
Yeah, I tried. I couldn't really do it. But I got to also give a shout out to David Eddings.
I like
the Belgariad was awesome.
Those are my favorite in high school.
But the weird thing is, did you read beyond the Belgariad?
I read a little bit in there.
You get the Belgariad, and in the foreword of Pawn of Prophecy, the first book in the Belgariad, David Eddings says, "I turned to the fantasy genre to further look into." I'm messing up his words there, but a theory that I had developed about literature. So that made me think, oh, that's weird. He's never addressed what that theory was. So then you had the Belgariad. Awesome story, very unique, interesting. The characters were great. Everything was great. Then you had the Malorian, which was another 5-book series. Exactly the same plot line, same characters, because it was a continuation. So that's 10 books. More than willing to give that. I loved that too. The character, I still loved the characters. I wanted to go back to them. Then he did 2 trilogies, different worlds, different characters, same exact plot line.
Is that his theory about literature? You can say anything?
Exactly, that's what I think.
Like that music theory where you find one sentence, there's a series of music notes that you play them and any pop song will be hit.
Oh, that's interesting.
And seriously, because the Elenium, the third series, I didn't care about the characters, and I was paying more attention to the plot, going, oh my god, this is exactly, instead of a blue stone, it's a red stone. Otherwise, it's exactly the same story.
I had that problem with the Shannara series because it was Tolkien.
Yes, exactly.
I stop. I couldn't read it.
I couldn't do any more Shannara either.
You know, I read a lot of Piers Anthony in high school too. Did you do those?
Yeah, Piers
I
Anthony
did.
was good. I like Piers Anthony.
But every series he did, he rode every series into the ground.
Yeah.
But I mean, like the Adept, the Magician
those are
Adept,
the best,
they were
aren't they?
great. The first 3 were fantastic.
They were awesome.
The first 3, yep.
And then after that, I was like, same thing about Incarnations of Immortality. Started amazing and got silly. Xanth was silly to start with, and then just got way sillier.
Got really silly.
Yeah, but and I think I was in high school when I discovered Ender's Game also.
Awesome
I've never
series.
read that one.
Awesome series. That's an awesome.
Yeah, the first 3 are great. After that,
the first,
weird.
he gets weird, but yeah. So, I mean, I have been. In fact, if I could tell a little story, Peter.
Yes. Why? Please do.
As a high school student, my parents would give me lunch money for lunch. And I know that there's probably many high school students out there that use their lunch money for things other than lunch. And I'm sure some of them use it for things that they buy that their parents don't necessarily know they buy. I would not eat lunch when I was in high school because I would save up my money and each week I would buy a new book. And I would have to hide them from my parents because they would be wondering where I was getting the money for these books. So I
like that story.
I was hoarding my little fantasy books, and when I turned 15, I think, my father helped me finish a little room in the basement of the house that was finished as a little fantasy milieu tavern. Really, really small room, but it was enough for like 4 people to role play in. And there was a little bookshelf in there, and that's where I would put all the books without drawing any attention to them. And so that was my little secret in high school. That was my vice. Other people
I had. It's funny. I was reading all those books too, and we used to travel down to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and stay in a camper there. And I can remember. I'm glad my parents did this. I mean, I got to that age from like 12 to 16 where I would have been totally happy to sit in my lawn chair with like a diet. I mean, not a diet back then, but a Dr. Pepper. And just read Xanth book after Xanth book and Blue Adept and The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. I was reading all of those. And, you know, my parents were always glad that I was reading, but they'd be like, okay, you got to put the book down.
Yeah.
And they used to have to make me go out and interact with people. Like, they'd be like, you can't sit here, you can't play here. Now that I think about it, I think they might have something else in mind, but I don't want to go there. And, and I used to have to like stroll down, and I'd stroll down to the arcade, and it's funny. I'm so glad they made me do that though, and get out from behind that book.
Oh, I think that's an extremely important thing for parents to do, and I don't think a lot of parents do that. And I think that's why you get funny, a lot of gamers
Russ,
that
I don't know
socially
if you feel this way, but when I hear people making criticisms about computer games, and they're like, "Oh, you know, they play too much computer games," I'm thinking, for me, it wasn't much. I was like addicted to books.
Yeah,
so
I think it's.
People will always say, well, reading's better. It's like, oh, when I was a kid, my parents had to make me stop reading as if it were a DS.
Yeah, I think it's just all about balance, right? I mean, you don't want your kids to be focused on only one activity, whatever it is. Too much reading is no better than too much video games.
I guess that's what I mean is people will often, they forget the balance part, and they'll say, oh, it's the video game. It's like, no, it's about balance, not the video game.
Right.
You know?
Did you guys read a lot of comedy books, too? Like, I read a lot of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Myth Adventures, that kind of stuff?
Yes. Oh, Myth Adventures were great.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
What was the female author, Madeline DeAngle, or it's like with the dolphin or something?
And Phil Folio.
Phil Folio,
His graphic novels.
I was never really into graphic novels, but I mean,
like
his stuff from
though.
Dungeon,
from Dungeon,
magazine.
and for Dragon, and then he also did a couple of graphic novels, a space one and a Myth Adventures. He animated Myth Adventures too.
I think I did have the Myth Adventures because I was a big fan of Myth Adventures.
Yeah. Good stuff.
When Robin Aspirin.
Oh yeah.
When he died, that stunk.
Yeah.
Well, those got the Thieves Guild.
Well, so did Douglas Adams.
Thieves Guild books were good too.
Douglas Adams died and stunk too because he had a lot left in him too. That was too bad.
The Sanctuary series. Those were the Thieves Guild or Thieves World. Was it Thieves World?
Thieves World.
Thieves World. Yeah, those were good books. Actually, I got those at a used bookstore when I was in high school, and so my entire collection lacks covers.
Right.
That was back. Do they do that now still?
They still do that, yep.
They rip the covers off at used bookstores.
Yeah, Nicole used to work at Barnes & Noble. I still did that. Rip them off, and then they send them to used bookstores.
Yeah. So, lots of good books from high school.
Do you see that, students? That's priceless. Priceless stuff. Well, I'm going to thank...
What?
Raef and Russ, I want to thank you of the D6 generation. May you give us many more episodes to come.
Well, thank you,
and
Peter.
Students and I here at NNESAE, we thank you for your promptness, your candor, and your vitality.
Well, thank you, Peter.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good night. I'm Peter Lipton, and until next time, in the Podcaster Sleep Night.
This Jever Notice is brought to you by Aaron, a.k.a. Role Player, with the following ominous message.
Enemies of the Imperium, hear me. You have come here to die. The immortal Emperor is with us and we are invincible. His soldiers will strike you down. His war machines will crush you under their treads. His mighty guns will bring the very sky crashing down upon you. You cannot win.
Did you ever notice that whenever a group of people gathers together in numbers above a certain unidentified high water mark, cliques form? Smaller subgroups that don't necessarily get along with the rest of the sample. It doesn't seem to matter what else the people have in common. They could all be sports fans, NASCAR racing fans, or all gamers. They're perfectly content in one another's company with plenty to talk about until that magic number is reached. And then, like migratory birds answering the silent call of Earth and Moon, they start to move through their environment, settling into new and more comfortable configurations. It really fascinates me, like watching animals at a zoo or in the wild. Check it out the next time you're at a convention or a tournament. First, the early birds arrive, not unlike the scouts that herald the imminent arrival of the swallows to Capistrano. They circle the venue a bit. Given enough time, they'll start to congregate, usually around food of some sort. They'll chat with each other, share their observations of this or that, and seem quite content, until the numbers begin to swell. As more and more people arrive, you'll see them accrete around the initial group for a while. That group will get bigger and bigger, and then suddenly, at some unspoken cue, people will begin to wander away, forming colonial subformations that then settle somewhere different and start to collect their own numbers. If the event is large enough, you'll be able to see this happen several times before things get underway. At our local gaming locale, you can see this each Tuesday. The first 4 or 5 people who show up will hang around chatting, talking about this and that for a while. I mean, we do have a bunch in common, really. But then, as more and more people arrive, you can see the groups breaking up, splitting along visible fault lines that follow a variety of social and personality traits. The role players, whether they're in the same games or not, will split off from the board gamers who split off from the war gamers. Now, further complicating of this, of course, are the large numbers of magpie gamers who play multiple games, and of course, king of those would be Russ. I mean, there are a bunch of us who play all 3 types of games at one point or another. Admittedly, most of our group doesn't play role-playing games at the local store, but still, we do play them. But undoubtedly, the social butterfly of the group would be Russ. In fact, let's call him the social gamer fly, because if you're new to a store, it's very hard to tell these guys from the average hammerhead, but the difference is quite striking and very important if you're new to the venue. See, a social gamer fly, like Russ, bounces easily from group to group, talking all walks of gamer life, and are basically welcomed into each group. Either they're excreting a pheromone that suggests they're harmless, or they are mimicking social cues from each group they visit, communicating in some subtle nonverbal sense that they belong. The hammerhead, on the other hand, will wander into any group he wishes, chat incessantly with anyone as if he's known them for 100 years, but is not welcome. The hammerhead, either through some terrible accident in life or perhaps a cruel genetic deficiency, lacks completely the understanding of basic social cues, never mind the mastery of the social gamerfly to mimic them. Anyway, there you go. Once this magical number, whatever it is reached, we break up into cliques. And it's not just us. It's every social group I've ever observed. Athletes at meets, people at political rallies, teachers at conventions, and, of course, the ideal exemplars, teenagers in any environment you'd care to name. We're so good at it, though, that we've got a flowchart to help us keep the whole thing straight. Don't believe me? Google the geek hierarchy and check it out for yourself. At the top, of course, you have published science fiction and fantasy authors and artists. At the bottom, people who write erotic versions of Star Trek where all the characters are furries, like Kirk is an ocelot, for example, and they put furry versions of themselves as the star of the story. Well, now, if you think about it, that seems self-evident. Now, our hierarchy was actually brought home to me this week in school when a neighboring teacher of sociology stuck his head into my room wielding a massive boffer sword and asked me what the people who use those swords are called. See, they were doing a study on subcultural divisions, and someone brought in the sword as a prop. So I tried to explain the concept of historical reenactment versus LARPing in front of 2 classes at the same time. This, of course, led to trying to explain why Dungeons & Dragons, which is how all standard role-playing is described by the uninitiated, is different from LARPing, which then led to trying to explain cosplay. So, if I see a bunch of people with these running around in a park, LARPing. And if I see 2 of them walking around in a mall, cosplay. I think. That one still confuses me. And this reminded me of the flowchart and the prominence of the furries in the flowchart. I remember how I didn't know for the longest time what a furry was. It's when you write stories and you make all the characters actually be animals. So We tend to divide ourselves along these lines, but why? Why can't we all just get along? Well, you know what? I don't think we have to. Unless you want to, either because you're a social gamerfly or maybe you're a business owner, why should you try to spend time with people other than those that you're naturally drawn to? I mean, please be polite at least. Don't be jerks about it. And always give new people the benefit of the doubt. You always want to include new people in your group or your group will stagnate. Just ask Russ. Remember, there's all kinds of different things that you can take away from social interactions. But seriously, we're all, most of us, doing this as our pastime, our hobby, the thing that makes other parts of our lives more livable or survivable. Don't feel like you're a bad person because you don't like hanging out with particular people. I can guarantee you there's a whole legion of people who don't like hanging out with me, my friends for starters. But as long as you're polite, remember, use your words, we can all get along while at the same time maintaining our comfortable social zones. It doesn't make you bad people, it just makes you people. Oh, and speaking of good people, I just finished the new Dresden book, Changes, at 3 o'clock this morning, which in and of itself should tell you something. Man. Only 11 and a half months to go until the next one. Well, that's all I've got for now. Thanks for listening, and good night.
Achievement unlocked! You've made it to the end of another D6 Generation episode, the podcast whose humor has universally been acclaimed as not too horrible. Please let us know what you thought of the show by either emailing us at info@the d6generation.com or by posting in our official D6G episode thread at the top of the DACA discussions forum on DACA.com. If for some inexplicable reason you actually enjoyed this show, you can help others find out about it by leaving positive reviews on iTunes. See you in 2 weeks. Thanks for listening, and happy gaming.
The theme from Total Fangirl comes from the soundtrack of The Last Night on Earth, the zombie game, courtesy of Flying Frog Productions, and is a composition of Mary Beth Magalanes.
Hi-ho, Kermit the Frog here. Now I'm proud to introduce Eric Bloom and the Ham Touchers singing their hit single from Warhammer Online, Kiss My Axe While I Drink My Beer. Yay!
Been killing so long, I don't feel a thing. Been trying to die, my dooming to bring. Fighting so hard, the oath that I swore. Been searching so long for death's open door.